This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. Secretary of State Chuck Gray claims Governor Mark Gordon isn't including money to advertise a property tax ballot initiative in his biennial budget. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Governor Gordon says the secretary managed to fulfill his publication requirements before without extra money.
Secretary Gray, within 19 hours of Gordon's proposed budget plan, was lamenting why, I'm sure, is this a scheme against the law-mandated notifications I have to do about the ballot initiative we have coming up, which is to reduce property taxes yet again. And the governor fired back in his own comment, you didn't have problems with the notifications you were required to do in 2024. You didn't have an extra request at that time. So the governor was like, I'm just kind of letting you lead.
Gray's office is budgeted in the 2025-26 for $9.5 million. The secretary asked for almost $10.5 million for the upcoming biennium. Gordon is proposing Gray's office receives $200,000 less than requested. Wyoming is bucking a national trend by growing its horse racing industry, but as Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports, legislators want more control of the gaming terminals that support its big purses amid complaints the state is looking too much like Montana.
People feel like there are too many of these gaming terminals across the state. And now that is not just historic horse racing terminals, but they're also talking about those terminals like Cowboy Skill Games. And so one of the things that's been happening is Cowboy Skill Games have been popping up in grocery stores.
Nationwide, the horse racing industry has been in a steady decline, but not in Wyoming. The newly merged joint venture between Wyoming Downs and 307 Horse Racing nearly doubled in attendance at their Evanston track this year to 1,700 people per day on average. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
Right now, there's a powerful chance to change a life, maybe even save one. The Wyoming Rescue Mission is offering a unique opportunity where every dollar you give is matched, doubled, to bring hope to those in desperate need. But time is running out. They must raise $175,000 by May 31st for our neighbors who need it most. Please go to wyomission.org/donate. Help bring comfort, dignity, and a second chance. That's wyomission.org/donate.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming lawmakers advanced 5 bills on Tuesday to tighten control over slot machine gaming, citing its explosive growth. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that industry leaders defended the machines as vital to funding live horse racing and rural economic activity, but the Management Council wants to pump the brakes.
Well, the Management Council is the legislature's administrative arm. So they sent out this task force to really look at the gaming statutes and what could be improved. And the task force came back like, we got to tighten our definitions of criminal gambling. We got to give local governments a potential kill switch to where they can shut some of these down if they feel they're hurting their people. And we got to keep these skill-based amusement games out of packaged liquor stores.
If the current drafts become law in the legislative session that opens February 9th, the bills would provide prosecutors more power to charge gambling crimes and strengthen penalties against money laundering, while also giving local governments more authority to oversee simulcasting and horse racing terminals. Campbell County Commissioners passed a resolution Tuesday banning the storage of high-level nuclear waste in the county. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the commissioners say it's a message that as Wyoming's nuclear industry grows, Campbell County has no intentions of becoming a nuclear waste dump.
The commissioners have heard a lot from community members to the point where they've crafted and passed a no nuclear waste resolution for the community. And basically, after 2 months of discussion, what this is the community saying, hey, look, we're watching. We know that a piece of the nuclear industry is waste disposal, and we do not want to become some default dumping ground. And I think Commissioner Bob Jordan put it best that the resolution is kind of planting a flag saying, we're aware of what's going on. Down the road, you can't accuse us of not paying attention. We are stating our position now.
The resolution underwent substantial changes from its initial form in September when Commissioner Jerry Means proposed placing the nuclear waste storage issue on the 2026 general election ballot. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now, my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's the Cowboy State Daily Show on Wednesday, November 19. Happy Hump Day. Wednesday, newspaper day. It's a newspaper day in Wyoming. I wonder if it's that way in other states. For a great majority of communities, this is when they publish their newspaper. For Jackson, for instance, Jackson Hole News and Guide is out. Front page story regarding Wayne and Molly Hughes and the Hughes Foundation. Big story on them. Big vote. Epstein files. Looks like they're going to be released. The bill has hit the desk of the president. Breezed through the House with one nay vote. Unanimous in the Senate, despite Senator John Barrasso's hesitancy. He thinks it's more of a political play than a seek of justice. But he voted for it. It's now on Trump's desk. Trump, after his comments made on his Truth Social thing, I think Sunday night, he's expected to be pretty fast here that we will see what is in these Epstein files. How much of it is going to be redacted? I would be interested to know. If on one hand, speculation, remember this went back and forth so many ways. There was a time when President Trump did not want the files released. The Republicans, it seemed Trump did not want the files released. There was a time when the Democrats didn't want the files released. And back and forth it went, depending on who got a sneak peek under the curtain. And now the Democrats are all about getting it released because they believe Trump is named. I can, with my thimble of knowledge of politics, I can almost guarantee you if Trump changed course, if President Trump originally did not want the files released and speculation rampant that it's because he's named in the files many times for perhaps being with underage or partying with Epstein or whatever, there was something in there that might not look good for the president of the United States. Although, President Trump has never really carried himself as a guy who's unblemished. He's a warts and all kind of a president, is he not? I mean, there's many things you can say about Trump, and even his most ardent detractors have to admit he's not a guy that pretends he's unsoiled. I mean, he's a bull in a china shop. And when you drain the swamp, you're going to get a little dirty. And I don't know if it's possible to blemish his reputation. You know, when we talk about the Epstein files, they may contain something that could be harmful to his reputation. Like, I don't think anything in there at this point could be shocking when we're talking about President Trump, right? He's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. What could possibly be in there that would make anyone think less of him if you're not a Trump fan? And maybe that's why Trump's saying, whatever, let it fly. But I can almost guarantee you, with my limited knowledge of politics, that if President Trump was initially opposed to having these files come out, if he is indeed named in there many times, and then Trump changes his mind and the vote breezes through and we're going to see the Epstein files, this thing is going to be redacted like a letter home from a tank driver in World War II or whatever. It's going to be redacted like an Area 51 report in the 60s. This thing's going to be so blotted out, so edited. Because it's not like, where are these files? Are they sitting in a cabinet somewhere in the White House? I mean, they're all digital, right? You can't tell me there's not some IT geniuses working on behalf of the administration trying to clean that up for the last 2-3 weeks. Please. If that thing's coming out, it's going to be redacted into unrecognizable form. Whatever. Secretary Chuck Gray took him all of 11 hours to say he doesn't like the governor's budget. At least he doesn't like his share. Secretary of State said he got shorted not very much. We're talking about, seriously, a pittance compared to a $11 million budget. $11 billion, sorry. Secretary Gray said he needed extra money to advertise for property tax relief to be on the ballot coming up. Gordon countered with, you didn't need extra money in 2024 when you had to do the same thing. There was an increase in the budget for Secretary of State's office, but there was not money appropriated for advertising for property tax relief. It seems, when you look at all the cuts in the budget, and there were cuts, it seems pretty petty to be talking about, I don't know, what are we talking about? $200,000? I mean, not that that's chump change for you and I, but comparatively, not even $200,000. $125,000 Secretary Gray needed to advertise the initiative in every Wyoming county for 12 weeks prior to the election. Man, newspapers are going to be making bank. $125,000. And he didn't get it out of the proposed budget. Now, the proposed budget is not said and done. That's just the proposed budget from the governor. It's got to go through legislative committees. It's got to be approved by the legislature at this session coming up starting February 9th. So we're not done, but we've got our first look under the hood of what it looks like. In fact, Governor Gordon will be on this show later today. We're going to talk about nothing but the budget. I know, boring for me. I'm not a budget guy, but Gordon is a former treasurer. Now, governor. So, yeah, he's all about numbers. He's made a budget. We'll have him on later. The Secretary of State's office did get shorted. Sorry, I said they enjoyed an increase. Gray's office was budgeted for $9.52 million. The Secretary Gray had asked for $10.45. So $200,000 less than his ask. And also without this $125,000 to advertise the ballot initiative. Was that a slight against Gray? Because, I mean, it's pretty well known now that Gordon and Gray do not see eye to eye in a lot of things. They butted heads at just about every time they're in the same room. Was that a shot at him? Maybe not when you look at other departments that receive pretty deep cuts. For the most part, Governor Gordon's budget reflected only inflation as the increases. If a certain department got more money than they did last time around, mostly it was due to inflation, keeping up with inflation. That's about it. Maybe some wildfire money, but not a lot of increase in the budget, quite honestly. And that's not just me. That's Governor Gordon saying that. That's others who have had a first quick look at the budget saying it's pretty lean. Maybe too lean if you ask Secretary Chuck Gray, who says, where's my $125,000? You obviously, Governor, are not interested in having fair elections. We jumped right on that, fired off an email to Claire McFarland of the Cowboy State Daily. We have that story. Also, lawmakers trying to get ahead of this explosive growth in slot machine gaming. I'm all for it, man. Wyoming is headed down a gambling road. Don't pretend we're not. We got a state lottery now. Not that that's an evil gambling thing, but I never thought Wyoming would go down that road. That's gambling. We got horse racing, which is kind of fun, but it's a dying sport. And Wyoming hopes to revive it, and I'm very skeptical that'll happen. There's a new racetrack going in the Cheyenne area, the first mile-long track that could accommodate thoroughbreds. Right now, there's spotty quarter horse racing. Horse racing in Wyoming, if it's going to make this great comeback, and Wyoming is going to be there for, I don't see signs of it. Nobody goes to the races. Nobody. We'll talk about it later. But you know what they do is they gamble on the races in off-track betting, in historic race slot machine gambling, which is not gambling because a historic race that happened 30 years ago is not gambling. It's such a technicality workaround to not call it gambling. There are so many in the gambling and the gaming industry, beginning with the fact we don't even call it gambling in Wyoming. Wyoming so doesn't want to become Nevada or even Montana that we're afraid to even call gambling gambling. We call it gaming. It's gaming. It's just a game. It's gambling. And the slot machines that do historic racing, they're not a game of chance. It's not a game of chance, which is the definition of gambling. It's not a game of chance. It's already historically a race that has been run. We know the winner, only you don't, probably, unless you're Rain Man. You don't know who won at Aqueduct in 1985 in the fourth race on November 11th. No way. Could you? have that kind of knowledge in your brain. You'd have to be one heck of a card counter to be thrown out of a gambling establishment for knowing races. So that's how you get around the whole gambling aspect. And it's all this stuff is made to deny the fact that Wyoming has legalized gambling. Flat out. And now trying to reel it back in. A meeting in Cheyenne on Tuesday, Legislative Management Council advanced 5 bills at reining in slot machine-like gambling. We don't want to become Montana where the slot machines pop up all over the place. I mean, it's bad enough we got Bitcoin ATMs in every gas station. Do we need jingling horse racing terminal gaming machines? Jackpot! I don't think so. Oh, those things are dreadful. They're an eyesore. They're bad game. So many bad things begin with gambling. It's fun to go to the casino in Las Vegas once a year, once every 5 years, whatever. What happens in Vegas stays there. But I don't want those machines in Wyoming. They don't belong. Wyoming doesn't need that junk. The proposed bills would give prosecutors a clearer means of charging house-style gaming operations for infractions, but not infringe on, friends just hanging out playing poker. Also, the proposed legislation would look at a ban on money laundering at the state level, making it a felony, because after all, gambling attracts, the Sicilian mob. They're not all Sicilians, but it attracts mob, it attracts bad actors and money laundering and all that. It would also limit historic racing terminals to 3,004 per track. That seems like enough. And again, when you go to the racetrack in Wyoming, no one's going to watch the actual live real race. Not no one, but hardly no one. And that's what Senate President Bo Biteman said. He asked, how many people go to the races? Not many. You'll be surprised. We'll talk about it later. Not many. They're going to gamble at the machines. And the machines are popping up everywhere, the fear is they'll pop up everywhere. So legislators are getting ahead of it. We're going to talk about that story. The dim-witted man who challenged the wolves in Yellowstone. Yet another idiocy in Yellowstone. I didn't think the guy's life was in danger. I watched the video. Mark Hines has that story. I felt more bad for the wolves than the dude. Wolves are not going to attack you. It's not the movies. This is not Hollywood. A pack of wolves is not going to take you down when you walk out there amongst them. Very, very, very unlikely. And that's not just me saying that. That's a wolf expert that Mark Hines talked to. A bear? Yeah. Mountain lion? Maybe. Wolf? I doubt it. The dude went out to interact with the wolves and people feared for his life. I feared for the wolves because if they get used to humans doing that, that's not a good thing. Leave the wolves alone. Leave aminals alone, dude. What caused the massive power outage? Still unknown. And that has some people irked, including firefighters. Still unknown. May take months to pinpoint what caused the power outage. They had 100,000 customers blacked out last week. Was it last week? Yeah, it was during the when we were having this auroras. I mean, just blame it on the auroras if you don't know. And it sounds like they don't know. They being Rocky Mountain Power. Spokesperson said the investigation will focus on the sequence of events leading up to the Thursday afternoon outage that began at 4:45. David Eskelsen, who is a perfect spokesperson because he doesn't say anything that means anything. The investigation will focus on the sequence of events. What caused the power outage? The investigation, just say we don't know, and we may never know. But Eskelsen said, we want to be thorough before drawing any conclusions. In other words, this is going to take a long time, and we have no idea what caused this power outage. Probably wasn't the Chinese, but I'm thinking it was the auroras, man. Just blame it on that. It was a CME. It was a coronal mass ejecta. The sun did it. You got a perfect built-in excuse. We had the biggest northern lights we've ever seen. Photographers were saying that we'd never seen anything like it. Happened days before, Tuesday night, Wednesday, and then blam, power goes out. Just say it's the northern lights and be done with this. Instead of saying the investigation will focus on the sequence of events. It could take months, the power company said, to pinpoint what caused 2 high-voltage transmission lines to trip near Medicine Bow last week. There was also several fires. And that's why the firefighters say, you know what, figure it out, because it's dangerous not knowing why your power lines could just explode and trip out. 7 fires in Sheridan County alone, ranging from half an acre to 50 acres. Yeah, what did it? Scott Schwebke has the story, which basically says, we don't know what did it, and it could take months to tell you what it did it. It was the sun. The sun did it. A lot of other stories we're getting to. Special guest today, as I said, Governor Gordon will be on. We'll talk budget. Adrian Jay, singer-songwriter in the Cody area. Is he in the... Yeah, he's moved to Cody. Originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Adrian Jay will be with us. Featured in the David Madison story this week regarding his time hanging out with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Pretty cool. As a teen... I mean, this guy got to hang out with Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He and his best friend, Adrian Jay, and his best friend got to hang, because his best friend, Anthony Kiedis, was his uncle. They even got to give him a CD of their songs. Can you imagine being able to, you know, you're in a band and you're 17 and you and your friend and you've got a couple of demos and you're like, would you listen to these, Anthony? And he did. Yeah, we'll talk to Adrian Jay. That'll be fun. Jared Petrino will be on, and of course, UW Cowboys. Big football game this weekend, not because the Cowboys have anything to win. I mean, beating Nevada should be the very least the Cowboys should accomplish this weekend. Final home game. Nevada's dead last in the Mountain West. And it's been a horrible season for the Cowboys, honestly. Well, maybe not horrible. That might be a overshot. It's been not a good season. Unsuccessful. The offense last week looked dreadful. They're not trending in the right direction. So whether Wyoming wins this weekend against Nevada won't matter any bit in a bowl race or in the standings, really. But the reason the stadium's going to be packed, the reason tickets will be scalped, the reason everybody's going to go is to see Josh Allen. His number going to be retired. First time a University of Wyoming Cowboy player has had his number retired. And, of course, it's going to be the 17. Nobody shall wear it again. Swoboda should have never worn it, but whatever. He soiled it. Hopefully he didn't spill any hot sauce on it. 17 gets retired this weekend, and Josh Allen, from what I understand, will be at the game, at the stadium. The Bills play tomorrow night. So had the Bills played a regular Sunday game, it'd be more unlikely that Josh would be there on a Saturday the day before. But since the Bills play tomorrow and they're off all weekend. They play tomorrow, and that's their game for the weekend, that he has plenty of time to go to Laramie. So that would be so cool to go see Josh Allen back in his old stomping grounds. Jared Petrino and I will talk about that. Aaron Turpen, our automotive specialist, will be on. We'll talk about America's re-fascination with blocky trucks from the 70s and 80s. Those blocky vehicles look so cool. They're now trading hands for big money. An old 1980s Chevy Silverado, you'd be surprised what you can get for that in any kind of shape. Aaron Turpen and I will talk about that and how much Wyoming wind affects your mileage. When you're heading into the wind, your MPGs don't even get close to what that vehicle has advertised it'll get, miles per gallon. When you're heading with the wind, oh my goodness, that 1-ton Dodge Ram suddenly is driving like a little Subaru. You're getting like 30 miles a gallon going with the wind. Yeah, we'll talk about that and the effect that wind has on your driving around in Wyoming. Lots to do on this Wednesday. We'll be right back.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Hi. I'm your retirement fear. But don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. Here, this is pretirement.org.
Retirement savings options? Potential tax breaks?
Move.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
You got this.
Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane. Woo! You got this.
So as a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I can't say that I have. I mean,
if you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
Eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Back from break, Cowboy State Daily on a Wednesday. Here's what the day weather forecast looks like. Mostly sunny, breezy in Casper, 56. Lander, partly sunny, 51. Evanston, partly sunny, highs 48. Little fog in the morning for Rock Springs. Otherwise, partly sunny, 48 today. Pinedale, chance of snow, rain, front-loaded. By 1 in the afternoon, you should see clearing skies a little bit. 42, the best you're going to do in Pinedale. 47, the high in Afton with fog and snow and rain. And mostly cloudy skies in the afternoon. Chance of snow and rain in DuBois. But a mostly sunny afternoon. Highs 46. Jackson, chance of snow and rain. Mostly cloudy, 47. Thermopolis, sunny, 55 today. Cody, sunny, 51. Same for Powell. Buffalo, partly sunny, 50. Partly sunny at Sheridan, 52. Gillette, you'll top out at 51 with sunshine. Newcastle, abundant sun, 53 today. Torrington, hot spot, 65. And sunny. That's pretty nice on November 19th. Douglas, mostly sunny and 58. 58 and sunny in Cheyenne as well. Laramie, sunny, 50. Rawlins, mostly sunny, breezy, 48 today. It takes you across the state with the day weather forecast, which is not too bad, honestly. We got to start getting into checking YDOT for road closures and stuff like that, road conditions. I've been pampered over the whole summer. I haven't gone to the page where I see what the latest road conditions are since last winter. Try to give you some updates, but recognizing this show is not necessarily digested in real time by many of our listeners. You may go back and download the podcast. You may hear it on a radio station playing the show in the afternoon. You may be watching an archived YouTube version of the show. So I get it to tell you that, Highway 14 over the Bighorn National Forest is snowy this morning and it's the afternoon and the road's fine is fake news, right? Kinda. So, yeah, we won't do a whole lot of in-time weather, but it is good to know what's going on with the roads if you're listening live. One of our listeners chimes in, says, make sure you ask Governor Gordon about the budget concerning YDOT shortfall. Definitely we will. YDOT, I can't remember a budget cycle where Wyoming Department of Transportation said, nah, we're good. Everything's fine. Now they're always crying they don't have money, and I'm sure they don't. I'm not meaning to say they're Chicken Little and the sky is falling, but they never have enough money, ever. That budget, that department never has enough money. And in Governor Gordon's budget, there is an increase for YDOT. What did I do? I had a sneak peek at the budget and I was looking at, I got a nice trimmed down bullet point version without having to read the whole thing. There was an increase in the highway department by some amount, pretty good amount, but it's not going to cover the expected short. YDOT says over the next 2 years, I think, they originally thought they'd be $400 million in the hole. Now they're thinking more like $600 million. That's pretty significant. And it'll mean, of course, for YDOT that they can only do the bare minimum, maintain roads, fix only the biggest and deepest potholes, those axle benders. And they can only plow every other hour during a storm. They'll do what they can, but they're not going to be able to, take on big new projects like a big new shiny bridge over here or whatever. They're just going to be able to keep up with the most minimal of maintenance. Where is the finding things when I need them is the toughest part of this job. I need a spotter, like in sports. If I was the play-by-play guy, I would have a spotter on this show. I need an engineer because I push the wrong buttons all the time and things happen on the computer. I'm like, what just happened? And I need a producer to tell me, you got to go to commercial break, or you got to do this, or this guy's waiting on Zoom. And I need a spotter to be able to find the things that I know I read earlier in my show prep, which begins at like 3 a.m. You have no idea. You people are sound asleep and I'm reading the newspaper. And then I forget where I saw it, and I forget where I saved it. And if I just had a spotter, like in football, the spotter who talks in the play-by-play guy's ear and says, that was 55 on the tackle. You say, that's Toad Harris. The only good thing going in Wyoming right now, Toad Harris, the freshman running back. Oh, I just pray this guy does not jump in the transfer portal at the end of the year and want out of Wyoming. I wouldn't blame him. This team is terrible. He's the only good thing that's happening kind of on the offense. Toad Harris had 96 yards last week in a losing effort against Fresno against a very good defense. Toad Harris carries around the left side, and he's brought down by, and then the guy in your ear, your spotter. That was 55 on the tackle. Brought down by 55. I need a spotter to find me the part where Gordon says he's going to allocate, or he proposes to allocate YDOT with this much money. Claire McFarland had the story yesterday. I read it, and now I can't find it. A lot of money for the Department of Health. I do remember that. Department of Transportation. Okay, increase in YDOT's budget from $250.1 million to $282.8. So a $32 million jump in YDOT's budget. Now, how much is that going to close the gap? If YDOT is on the mark saying, hey, we're $600 million short, and they got $32 million more, obviously we're still looking at a pretty big gap there. But it was one of the few departments that saw significant increase in the budget. But yeah, I'll ask Governor Gordon, is YDOT going to be able to survive on this pitiful $350 million? We'll be sure to ask the governor that. What else? I'm almost up against another break here real quick. First, though, let's talk about the slot machine, the gaming. Yeah. I think this is a big story. And I recognize I'm probably in the minority. Probably most people in Wyoming are not worried about gambling. It's not high on your list of worries, slot machines and whatnot. But I have seen, and I'm sure you have seen, these gaming machines popping up in inappropriate places. And they're just an annoyance. They're a nuisance. And I'm not even talking about the evils of getting hooked on gambling. I'm not even talking about the father knows best who goes down this bad road because he's got a gambling habit. He can't stop betting the ponies. And pretty soon he's mortgaged the house, he's sold the cars, and he's turned to dealing drugs to support his gambling habit. I'm not talking about the evils of gambling. If you're prone to a gambling addiction, a gambling problem, you're going to find a way to gamble. I mean, golly, we got DraftKings. Just go make bets on football games. You know, you got plenty of avenues where you can support your gambling habit. I'm not talking about the evils of gambling. I'm just talking about the element it brings and just the annoyance of the one-arm bet, the slot machines. There's little more than, what is more depressing than a room full of these slot machines all jingling their song and a few sorry folks sitting in front of them shoving coins in them? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Because I do know people that do play the machines and they like them. I guess it's the adult version of Xbox. Without the money loss, without falling into financial ruin. But I can't think. I'm thinking a few things more depressing than this sight. A bad carpet. I can almost smell the cigarette smoke in this photo that I'm sharing. Go to the story. If you're on radio, pull over the car. Get on the CowboyStateDaily.com. Wyoming lawmakers advance 5 bills to rein in slot machine-like gambling. Claire McFarland wrote it. And look at the lead photo. And to me, that is the most depressing sight. Just a room full of shilling, shilling. You might be a winner. Jackpot, jackpot. 777. All these machines cackling away. And you've got some watered down drink in hand and a carpet full of cigarette burns. Oh. Is that Wyoming? No. You got to go to a bar full of lots of taxidermy. That's Wyoming. Go to a bar and do some day drinking with Zach Sontag in a poorly lit bar with lots of dead animals on the wall. That's Wyoming. These proposed bills that Claire McFarland is talking about, back to the topic. Meeting in Cheyenne on Tuesday, Legislative Management Council advanced 5 bills aimed at reining in slot machine-like gambling in Wyoming. Aimed at doing a lot of different things regarding gambling. Particularly, I'm interested in this horse racing thing. This notion that live horse racing, the connection with live horse racing, and anyone who owns and operates a track, for instance, Peter Ligori, part owner of Wyoming Horse Racing, this connection between the actual horse racing you're doing that no one is paying to go see, and your right then to also have a whole mess of slot machines doing the historic. That's what I'm talking. This connection is weird at best, wonky at worst. Bo Beitman even asked Peter Ligori of Wyoming Horse Racing, the live track operators like he have invested hundreds of millions into live horse racing, and yet it seems the focus more is the games, the slot machines, than the actual horse racing. In fact, Bo Beitman asked Ligori, he said, what was your attendance this year at the track for in-person spectators? How many people bought a ticket and came to watch an actual live horse race? Ligori said, well, that figure varies. What? Give me a ballpark it, said Beitman. 500, 600 people this year. I'm sorry, this year? Or in one race last weekend? This year, 500 people a year go to watch a racetrack. I can find 500 people in a 1A 6-man football game on any given Friday night in any podunk town in Wyoming. 500 people. So Beitman said it's safe to say the money's in the slot machines. Yeah, I think so. I think Beitman's spot on. Horse racing is dying, and I'm pessimistic as to Wyoming's ability to resurrect it. I don't want to be anti with it. I've been to horse races. They're fun. But there's a lot of negativity around it recently, and a lot of it's California. That's their fault. Remember in California, there was a one track where they had a horse break a leg like once a week. They had to put a horse down. There's that aspect. 2- and 3-year-old horses without fully formed bones are running flat out hard as they can. And then there's horse doping. There's fixing of races because it is gambling. Similar to boxing, it comes with it a certain element of bad actors in the gambling world. And then there's the fact that what do you do with horses after they're, similar to dog racing? Remember when dog racing, we had Dalmatian? What do you do with the dogs after 2 years when their career is over? What do you do with a 4-year-old thoroughbred? You put them on the restaurant menu in Canada. It's over unless he's going to sire, unless his sperm is worth anything. You're done. And what do you do with those horses? Quietly, they go somewhere. To the glue factory, to the fancy restaurant in Canada. It's not just Canada that eats horses. Obviously, they eat horses in Europe as well. But yeah, so there are a lot of downsides to racing. And in this day and age, America's not in love with horse racing anymore. And this idea that Wyoming is going to bring it back, I don't know. We're not going to the races now. 500 people in a year went to see the races I don't see it. It's about the gambling. It's about the gaming. And these historic race machines are gambling. What a workaround that is. What an end run that is. How are these things not gambling? If gambling is illegal in Wyoming, except for certain carve-outs, and those carve-outs are getting bigger and bigger. If gambling is illegal in Wyoming, how can we go bet on a race off track? On a machine, on a slot machine, because the race has already been run. It's a known fact who won. So it's not technically a game of chance, which defines gambling. Oh my goodness. Talk about this is like this is the kind of reasoning an 8-year-old would use with his dad when he's caught. It's not really gambling, Dad. This race already happened. Nobody remembers who won except for the machine. So when I bet on it, I'm not betting on chance. It's a known fact who won. I'm choosing to throw my money away on a race that's already been run. And I'm going to lose the same way a whole bunch of other people lost when they ran the race, tearing up their tickets. Son of a... I thought I had a winner that time. Old Smokey just couldn't keep up down the backstretch. And over, there'll be more losers at this race and more people sinking into their gambling addiction. It's gambling. Plain and simple. And lawmakers say they're going to do something about it. We'll see. Let's take a break.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill?
No.
You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kitchen now.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd?
He got a collapsed lung from vaping.
He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
When the uniform comes off, the battle doesn't always end. Too many of our veterans are fighting silent wars with trauma, with loss, with hopelessness. Downrange Warriors stands in that gap, offering peer support, purpose, and a brotherhood that saves lives. You can help. Visit downrangewarriors.org because no warrior should ever walk alone. Hope is waiting. Be the reason they find it.
Yeah, Cowboy State Daily Show on a Wednesday, finishing up that thoughts on reining in gambling in Wyoming, and then we'll hit the top of the hour. We did have some listeners chime in saying, yes, they too are opposed to seeing gambling terminals. Of course, all these one-armed bandit terminals, gambling terminals everywhere. Yeah, one of our listeners said, I worked at a coal mine years ago in Gillette. Knew some people that would head to Deadwood on their days off, fritter away their entire paycheck. It's just sad. And that's what Tara Nethercott said. Senator Tara Nethercott, Republican Cheyenne, said sports betting, gambling. She said there's a harm of gambling in young men, influencing young men to go down that road of gambling. It's not good for you. It's not good for society, the gambling. Senator Nethercott said, again, it was Bo Biteman who just says it's just bizarre. Senate President Senator Biteman said it's just a bizarre business model. And Biteman did point out the high school football game thing. He said there's more people that go to high school football games than go to watch horse racing. We could have historic football terminals. We could bet on past football games. Yes, we could. Biteman said, this to me is bizarre that we're allowing gambling in the state of Wyoming only to support one industry where people don't even show up. Propping up an industry that without the gambling aspect support of it would probably fade away, like it's fading away across the U.S. I don't want to just pick on horse racing because I like horse racing. I love it. It's exciting to see horse racing. I used to be way into it. I used to place bets on a local track when I lived in upstate New York. I would follow the horses at certain tracks. Horse racing's fun. But, I mean, honestly, that window's closing, I think. I don't see horse racing as making any kind of a comeback. Interest in horse racing is waning. And I think the idea that Wyoming's going to bring it back is really veiled in this notion that Wyoming wants to do some gambling around it and betting around it. And it just seems, as Senator Biteman says, bizarre. We do have listeners offering to help out and be a producer for the show. Remember, it does not pay well. It doesn't pay anything. You might want to rethink that. Other stories we're going to get to next hour. Adrian Jay's coming on the show, singer-songwriter, in the vein of, kind of a Bob Dylan. He looks up to Bob Dylan. He's the guy who hung out when he was a teenager with Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. How cool. What an influence at that time. David Madison wrote him up in a story. Adrian Jay is going to join us. Yeah, I know. A musician up before noon? I find it hard to believe. We'll see if he's in the Zoom room at 7:05. I wonder. Governor Gordon will be on with us as well next hour. And yeah, lots more to get to. Bunch more to get to. But that's going to do it for us for this hour, hour one of the Cowboy State Daily Show. Hopefully you're taking us in on X, maybe Facebook, maybe YouTube, maybe the home URL at cowboystatedaily.com. Maybe you're listening on one of the finer radio stations across the Cowboy State, or of course, listen or download the podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We're going to get in your ear one way or another. It's time for news.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. The U.S. House was one vote shy of unanimously voting to require President Trump to release the Epstein files on Tuesday. Cowboy State Daily's Sean Berry reports from D.C. that included a yes vote from Wyoming's Harriet Hageman, and Senators Lummis and Barrasso are also on board with releasing the files.
There's so much politics back and forth here that no one can definitively say what this means, because Mike Johnson, the leader of the U.S. House, said, "I insist that the Senate amend the bill that I am now voting on." John Barrasso of Wyoming, the number 2 Senate GOP member, saying, "We'll take a look at it and see what it says. We're not sure whether John Barrasso and the Republicans are going to take it up in the Senate, and if they do, will they amend it as Speaker Johnson wants them to do? And if Speaker Johnson wants the bill amended, well, why did he vote for it in the first place, along with all the Republicans in the House?" So there's question after question after question here.
Representative Hageman tells Cowboy State Daily that the reason she voted to release the files was that, quote, "Americans deserve full transparency." It could take months to pinpoint what caused 2 high-voltage lines to trip near Medicine Bow last week. Cowboy State Daily's Scott Schwebke reports the reason for the unprecedented blackout for about 100,000 customers won't be known for a while.
Rocky Mountain Power today told me that it's going to take maybe up to several months to really determine the cause of this. They have to analyze a lot of data regarding how much power was in the lines at the time. But they have filed reports with the state and with the federal government as required by law.
The blackout affected customers in Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
Right now, there's a powerful chance to change a life, maybe even save one. The Wyoming Rescue Mission is offering a unique opportunity where every dollar you give is matched, doubled, to bring hope to those in desperate need. But time is running out. They must raise $175,000 by May 31st for our neighbors who need it most. Please go to wyomission.org/donate. Help bring comfort, dignity, and a second chance. That's wyomission.org/donate.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Former Vice President Dick Cheney, who grew up in Casper, will be laid to rest Thursday at the National Cathedral in Washington. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that the private funeral will draw many, including one Wyoming politician.
We do know that one of the notable politicians who will be there from Wyoming is Cale Case. He got to know Dick Cheney while he was in college. He remembers Cheney coming to the University of Wyoming and visiting his fraternity house. He got to know the family some, and just said it is a tremendous honor to be invited to this funeral.
Cheney passed away on November 3rd due to complications from pneumonia coupled with cardiac and vascular disease. He was 84 years old. Wildlife experts say a man was foolish and inconsiderate to press within a few yards of a group of juvenile wolves in Yellowstone. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines says that in the video, onlookers say this could end really badly for that guy.
It's a guy in Yellowstone just doing very stereotypical, ignorant tourist stuff and getting way too close to some wolves. At one point, they got curious about what he was or what he was doing and approached him. And so I talked to some people that were actually there, some wolf watchers, some people who know this pack very well. And then I also talked to Doug Smith. When it comes to Yellowstone wolves, he's the top biologist. What it was is the adults of the pack had gone out hunting. So these were like the kids, the juveniles or the teenagers that were left behind. And this guy started approaching and they were like, what the heck is that? So they went to check it out.
Yellowstone National Park authorities advise that visitors should always stay at least 100 yards away from wolves as well as bears. Secretary of State Chuck Gray is claiming Governor Mark Gordon isn't including money to advertise a property tax ballot initiative in his biennial budget. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Governor Gordon says the secretary managed to fulfill his publication requirements before without extra money.
And the governor fired back in his own comment. You didn't have problems with the notifications you were required to do in 2024. You didn't have an extra request at that time. So the governor was like, I'm just kind of letting you lead and going with what you've managed before.
The secretary asked for almost $10.5 million for the upcoming biennium. Gordon is proposing Gray's office receives $200,000 less than expected. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
But the good news is, there's an organization making a big difference. Covenant House.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and the tools they need to succeed in life.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, and love, most of all love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges, and their lives are transformed.
Covenant House is changing the lives of young people in cities across America.
To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake, and we welcome onto the show Adrian Jay. If you grew up in the Grand Rapids area back in the day, you'll know Adrian as the guitarist in that loud garage band called Giblet. Or if you are in the Cody area, you know he's a singer-songwriter. Just dropped Nobody Understands Me Like You. New song dropped on November 14th. I was listening to it this morning, Adrian. I like Lovebird better. Lovebird is...
Really?
Oh, my goodness. Dude, Lovebird's a Beatlesque hit. It's the song the Beatles forgot to record. We'll talk about that. But yeah, you may also know this guy finally if you read David Madison's story in the Cowboy State Daily about Adrian Jay and his fortuitous meeting with Anthony Kiedis. And that was thanks to your buddy JD and the Red Hot Chili Pepper connection. What a influence that must have been. But yeah, where do we start, man?
Well, correction.
Yes.
It was Gibbet.
Gibbet.
Which actually was this medieval torture device where you'd kind of hang in a cage in a public square. It's not the nicest name. It just kind of fit the era of high school angst, you could say.
Yeah, angst, rebellion, reason why you would listen to Flaming Lips, or Jack White, or musicians that don't fit. I love, because we've all heard music that's so formula, cookie cutter. Sometimes we look at musicians that aren't afraid to just let it all hang out, man, and you're like, wow, they're taking risks. Do you see yourself doing that?
Well, in reference to Gibbet, I probably should have been maybe a little more afraid than I was to be letting everything out.
No,
there's no fear. It's just I've got a lot of love for my wife, and that's been pouring out through music as of late. So
let me ask about the change in you. All of us change. All of us grew up doing things that we're like either don't remember or are not necessarily proud of in the teen years. Let's go back 2015, 2016 era. You're in Michigan. living with your parents, going to community college, although I don't know how hard you're hitting the books. You're in a band. I mean, it was like a lot of us when we were in our teen stage. That's when you were introduced to Scar Tissue, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Anthony Kiedis book. That has a great influence on you. So, I mean, take me back there. Was it a time you're proud of? Or are you like, well, I lived it, whatever. It's part of what made me. What was it like being in Grand Rapids back then, 2015, 16-ish?
Yeah, well, I met Anthony a little bit before that, actually, when I was a freshman in high school. And throughout my high school life, he had a pretty big presence. He had a pretty big presence in my life. He was a major influence on me. I read his book originally when I was a freshman in high school. So all throughout my mid-teens to early 20s, his story continued to influence me. I don't really think about the era of kind of like partying and trying to be my own rock star, or like trying to be my own god as like something I'm proud of or not proud of. It is more of just part of my path that led me toward finding God. So all of it worked towards good in the end.
Yeah. In fact, I wanted to ask you what this means. You said, I've heard this quoted from you. I think I read a newspaper article that you traded chasing fame and fortune. Maybe that's what you thought you wanted. I mean, you're in a band. You're like, I'm going to be the next Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm watching Anthony Kiedis do it. I got a chance to meet him. It must have been, what were you like always nervous around him? Was he like rock legend?
Yeah, it was pretty rare that I was calm around Anthony, and I'm sure he was wildly aware of my admiration for him.
Yeah.
I was generally pretty nervous, and it was always kind of hard for me to be myself, unfortunately. But
well, look at the self you are now, Adrian. We're talking to Adrian Jay. He's in the David Madison story of the Cowboy State Daily about how he had an encounter. He knew Anthony Kiedis. Anthony was the uncle of JD, who was like your best bud and your another guy you wrote songs with and grew up with. You said like that was important to you to chase fame and fortune. But now you're living your dream. Look at you now. You're in Cody. You're living in the mountains. You're a singer-songwriter like Bob Dylan living in the mountains. You finally come home to roost. Do you feel good about where you're at now?
Yeah, I do. I would say life is significantly more chill, just living in Cody, being a married man, and doing things at kind of my own pace. It's definitely preferable to what I was doing before, you could say.
Yeah. Let's talk about the songs. I found that I have a link to the song, but if people want to find them, where can I tell them to go?
Well, my most recent song is exclusively on my Substack. That's Adrian Jay, Jay, .substack.com. And then I do have music on Spotify and Apple Music. This one just happened to be only on my blog.
Right. What is the significance? I got two just bizarre questions for you, Adrian Jay, so stay with me. What's the significance in that song? Nobody understands me. Like it begins with a woman like laughing or saying something. What is that?
Well, a lot of more modern music, you record the song, you record the main vocals, and then you'll record ad-libs, which could be, a repetition of the line that was just sung, or it could just be something random. So I was working on a totally different song, and I wanted my wife to do some ad-libs, and whenever I try to record her, we just end up laughing, and so I captured her laughing, And this was for a different song, and then it ended up on Nobody Understands Me Like You. It just felt like the perfect intro.
Yeah, I like it. It's an ear catcher. I'm like, wait, what is that? I'm not expecting to hear it. And then you do give credit to your singers who chorus out for you at the end of the song. That's cool. But I mean, Lovebird, that song, the way you've layered the backing vocals, is that all you just...
that one is all me. Yep.
I would love to hear some female voices in that, but that layer, that harmony stuff, the backing vocals, that's so Beatles. Is that an influence for you? Like who,
yeah.
I know I've heard you say that, Bob Dylan, my goodness, if you're going to be a singer-songwriter, let's start and end with Bob Dylan. And that you heard Bob Dylan from your mom and dad growing up, like before you were old enough to do anything and pick up a guitar. Yep. So that's huge influence. And that's a good name to throw around. Is that somebody still you think about when you're writing a song?
Not so much anymore. Every now and then I'll listen to an old Bob Dylan song and it will strike me in a new way. That's not so much who I'm listening to now. But that will always be baked in a little bit to the DNA of the songwriting. And I think, when you're becoming a young songwriter, the first inclination is to try to write exactly like Bob Dylan would write. And that's a huge mistake. That never works.
Right.
So he definitely will still influence me a little bit, but just not maybe in an obvious way.
Yeah. And I think Bob would probably tell you, and every singer-songwriter would tell you, you got to write what you know, you got to write what you live. Is that what you do now? If we're hearing the lyrics, if we're listening to an Adrian Jay song, it's probably pretty close to being real for you.
Oh yeah, it's always, I would agree.
Okay, the guitar. Here's the other bizarre question. What's the deal with the strips of tape on your guild?
Oh man. Well, this kind of ties back into kind of my old life pre-Christianity when I was a rebellious teenager. This actually just came up at my small group. So I had this guitar back when I was a teenager, and great guitar. I love this guitar. And in my rebellion, I hate to say this, I drew a pentagram on my guitar because I'm like thinking I'm edgy, thinking I'm cool. I wasn't like a legitimate Satanist or something, but I was like, I'm just going to do this to be edgy. And I ended up not too long after that being, my skills were requested at my mother's wedding to play a song, and I was like, I can't have that on my guitar.
Yeah.
So I put tape over it, and I've just covered it up ever since. But actually, about a month ago, I was like, man, I just can't have this in my house or in my life. So I actually just the other week ripped all the tape off and sanded it down so it's gone now. So the tape is gone.
Yeah.
And luckily the pentagram is gone as well.
Yeah. So. But it's, Adrian Jay, I don't want to speak for you, but it's interestingly symbolic of a reminder of, we're all born into sin, and it's your past, and it's a past that's always going to be a part of you, but it's a past that's been forgiven through grace. Like, it's always there, but it should remind you, trigger good memories now of where you're at now.
Yeah. I was definitely happy to get rid of that symbol. It should have been done a long time ago. That's really the only thing I can say about it. So
yeah. So what are you doing now? Like how much time are you devoting to the music career, singer-songwriting? Where are you going to take it next? Are you gigging live? Like, how hard you going after it?
Going after it as hard as I can, I guess. Just really my main focus is to continue recording. I counted last night, I think I have about 7 or 8 lined up to record. And I'm going to drop them as singles. I originally wrote most of these in kind of an album writing session. But an album is kind of a lot to do when you're by yourself. So I'm just going to drop them as singles.
Well, I'm so interested in this Cody music scene now. We're seeing Jillian Norberg. We've had her on the show. She's so fun. Kaylin Beasley. Like, there's something going on in Cody. There's something in the water. It's a pretty cool scene. I hope you can find enough places to gig out. You've been up in the Bozeman area. You know, I played at the filling station. I was a drummer in a band. I played at the filling station. Yeah.
Cool.
The sound guy at the filling station said I was the loudest drummer in North America at that time.
Was that a compliment or an insult?
It was. I took it as a compliment.
Okay,
yeah. That was fun. That place is wild. Much success to you. I'm excited for the career, and thanks for coming on. We'll be following you, Adrian Jay, on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jay. Cool.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, we have to take a break so I can get our weather guy in here and the governor in here. You bet. Governor Gordon will be on. Don Day will be on right after this.
Every morning, America wakes up to reheated outrage and copy-paste commentary.
Yeah, I don't follow talking points. I follow common sense. If that hits a nerve, good. It means you're still alive.
No spin, no fluff, no kumbaya, just Jake. Serving up truth, sarcasm, and grit. Stirred by hand and seasoned with reality.
I don't yell, I don't pander. I just call it like I see it, and trust me, there's plenty to call.
From the capital to the county fair, if it's worth talking about in Wyoming, Jake's already on it. No permission needed, no script required.
The West was built by people who spoke their minds and stood their ground. I'm just making sure we don't forget how.
The Jake Show. Weekdays on CowboyStateDaily.com and wherever bold voices still have a mic.
No apologies, no filter, no bull.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Dad! Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team.
Yeah, here he is, Don Day with the day weather forecast. Cowboy State Daily. My camera has frozen, but okay. I'm not going to worry about it. Don, you're still moving around? Yeah.
Yeah, so are you. You're moving around to me, at least.
Okay. Well, it just must be something internal. Another ghost in the machine. Another reason why I need an engineer or a producer or somebody Don, as long as we're filling out a wish list, Black Friday coming up, we're going to have the governor on next, right after you. In fact, we got to be quick here. The governor has finished his biannual budget, but there's probably a little bit of room here to tuck something in last minute. So I'm taking offers. What do you need at Day Weather Forecast? New European model, a new weather balloon, anything?
Yeah, I'd take a new weather balloon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll on your behalf. I'll see if we can slip that in the budget last second here in the 11th hour. See,
I believe this would go under pork, as they say.
Pork barrel rider. Yeah, probably. Yeah. What's it look like? Got froggy start to the day for a lot of us here.
Well, there's a little bit of shower activity moving across the state, and there will be over the next day or two. It's not going to amount to much, although I will have to say that we need to watch the far southeast corner of the state tomorrow night and Friday for some rain and snow around Cheyenne and Laramie, maybe back over to Rawlins, as a storm in Colorado is just going to graze the southern counties of the state. Otherwise, for the rest of the state, not much going on, and for the weekend through Monday, Saturday through Monday, not much going on. Folks wondering about Laramie, maybe Saturday looks good. I don't think we've got any threat of rain or snow. Lower 40s probably during the game, which for late November is pretty good.
Yeah, don't you dare rain on our Josh Allen parade.
No, I would have to leave town if I did that.
All right, Don, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Day weather forecast on the Cowboy State Daily. Yeah, Saturday, last home game of the year for the Wyoming Cowboys in a Josh Allen kind of a day. We're going to retire Josh Allen's number. What an exciting game that's going to be. Oh, and look at the governor. He's got Josh Allen's jersey. Oh, my goodness. Right on cue. The governor of the great state of Wyoming, Mark Gordon, joins us, rocking the 17. Now, after Saturday, you won't be allowed to wear that. We're going to put it away, retiring.
Yeah, you got that. That's right.
Oh, I'm so excited to see Josh. I hope he's there at the game.
Every indication is he's going to make it.
Yeah, because the Bills play tomorrow night, so he's got the whole weekend off, unless Haley's got something for him to do, and he can bring her. Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk budget, Governor Gordon. We've seen our first glimpse at the budget. I guess start out with, actually, I wanted to ask you whether you would recommend that it's a prerequisite of a governor to have been a treasurer, because so much of what you do is money, and doing the budget. My goodness, you've been busy with the budget for how many months now? And with that treasurer's background you had, 7 years as treasurer, something like that, is that pretty handy?
It does come in handy, Jake. Yeah, it really does. It's important to understand our budget is a very complex animal. Let me put it that way. There's a portion of it that's really general fund. That's the part that Wyoming actually plays a role in, but there's also highway funds that come in, and then there's federal appropriations and education money and everything else. Some of that stuff is controlled by the legislature, and some of that just is passed through dollars.
Yeah. We're talking budget with Governor Mark Gordon, and this budget, at early look peek under the hood, we just got our look at it yesterday. There are many saying that it's pretty tight, it's pretty clean. There are a slight increase over 2 years prior, mostly because of inflation. In fact, there were a lot of cuts in this budget. Where do you want to start? Any particular department, anywhere that you saw an increase, a decrease, and a why?
Well, Jake, let me just say that we had 4 principles that we tried to build this off of. One was to protecting Wyoming citizens and their families, and to make sure they had a good future. So we didn't want to do things that took us backwards. We wanted to support our core industries, those things that, you dance with a girl that you brought to the dance, not everybody else. So we wanted to make sure we supported those core industries that Wyoming's depended on. We wanted to make sure that we could expand new opportunities as well. and that's large and small. We wanted to maintain and improve effective and efficient government, and we have been doing that constantly. You think about all the time that I've been in office, and we just have not had a quote normal year. We had first the COVID thing, then we had Joe Biden. It's just been a crazy time. So when you look at 2019 to now, we've been really focused on making sure that our state continues to make progress, making government leaner, and also can maintaining those opportunities. And then most importantly, I think for me, is the fact that I believe as a Republican and a conservative, the governments closest to the people are the best. So that means we need to do what our Constitution recommends, which is to leave most of those decisions kind of at the local level. And so we've really tried to emphasize that as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a good example, but you have been walking the talk. Weston County clerk and the whole election thing there. Some have called for you to get involved to remove Becky from office. And you said, let Weston County deal with it. Let the voters deal with it. So, yeah, I've seen from the governor's office, government closest to the people is best.
Yeah, I think, all power in the people. That's Article 1, Section 1 of our Constitution. And in that case, we still have an ongoing investigation. There were a second round of allegations that are made. We're looking at them, and we'll probably have some news on that fairly soon. But, one thing that, when we get back to the budget, one thing that I think a lot of people probably need to understand better is that there are 2 or 3 agencies that really make up the bulk of our budget. Corrections is one of those, family services, and the one I was going to talk for a moment on is health. We've seen a tranche of money come from this administration. We haven't really gotten the response back to our request for that rural transformation funding. But we've seen over the course of my time in governor, and then even before that there's been a out-migration of medical services. So one of the things we're hoping to do is to be able to make sure that we continue to have medical services here in Wyoming, particularly important in our central part of the state, because so much where you are in Jackson, a lot of that migrates to Idaho down here. It goes to Colorado up north. It goes to Billings. In the east, it goes to Rapid City. We've wanted to make sure that Wyoming continues to have successful, important rural hospitals, because if we're going to see economic development, we've got to have a medical system that works. And so part of our budget has been around making sure that our seniors get the care they need, that our medical services are provided for, and that our disabled have an opportunity to be able to take advantage of those services. Outside of that, of course, emergency medical services are important, and other ancillary things like that.
Yeah, making sure Wyomingites have access to health care, significant part of the budget, like billions worth, going to Wyoming Department of Health. What about also a slight increase in WYDOT? They've estimated $400 to $600 million shortfall in the coming years. They're not going to be able to take on new capital projects, just barely keeping up. It seems that department is always faced with operating in the red. Are they going to be okay with what you proposed?
I think they will be. There's a lot of federal dollars that comes through. In fact, I think prior to my time, it kind of going back a long time in history, it was customary for the legislature to kind of roll off some things to WYDOT, because there was federal funding there, and that way they could, kind of crow about how they were saving dollars, but because they were just offloading them. That's finally caught up with WYDOT, and so what we're doing is really concentrating on what WYDOT's supposed to do: transportation, roads, that sort of stuff. We're still a shortfall, and I think we should be thoughtful about that on a national level too, because there has been some concern about the highway funds, which are funded by gas tax and so on. that those fuel tax issues are starting to subside a little bit. So that fund is a little more pressed, I think, to be able to provide funding. Wyoming makes out like a bandit on those highway funds because, of course, we have so many miles of interstate and not that many people. And so now, as we're focusing on what we need to do for the state, it is to make sure that our road infrastructure is able to withstand the demands of heavier loads more often, which is what we're seeing. And there's places like Platte County, for example, where some of those roads were built to 1950 standards, and the stuff that is rolling over them now just tears them up. So there's a lot of concern about how we fund that, and I think we're going to be okay, but there is a shortfall.
Tell me about the process, Governor. I know it's been important to you to make sure it is transparent. Everybody can see what's going on and how you got to the numbers.
Well, we starting at the probably first quarter of the year, we start recommending kind of what we anticipate the budget's going to look like. We come out of the legislative session. We start communicating with agencies. They start developing their budget. They put up what's called a straw man. Midsummer, we look at the straw man. This year, I got to tell you, we cut quite a bit out of that straw man. We just didn't have the money. And we wanted to focus on those 4 core principles I talked about. And so there's a lot of stuff that got left on the cutting room floor. We asked those agencies to make those first cuts themselves. They know best what their priorities are. And, rather than go through and say, well, you're going to cut everything by, 5% or 10% or whatever, we said, look, you need to have the programs that work. You need to know, what the priorities are, how they can work best. So give us what you absolutely need. And, there's stuff at the university, for instance, that we left on the cutting room floor. We just couldn't afford it.
One of those 4 principles you mentioned, number 2 on my list, support core industries, grow new ones, expand opportunities. It's sounding a lot like your intent to make sure Wyoming doesn't continue to be a boom bust state where we're living way high on the hog and then we're way down to the top. Like, we need to diversify and make sure there's a steady future for the next generation.
Oh, absolutely, Jake. That's been a real priority on my watch, has been how do we diversify that economy? I was here in the 1980s when the bottom fell out of the minerals industry, and Wyoming took 2 decades to recover. And so I remember that. And we've been really anxious to try to build that. There's a long road up. So we're moving the needle, but we still depend a lot on our core industries, which means that, we also need to make sure that oil, gas, coal, trona, bentonite, uranium, all those industries still know that they have a good home here. And there, one of the things that's changed over the years is we're in a really competitive environment right now. I can remember in Trump's first term, he said, look, we should give most of this effort to the states. They can compete. So we're now in a competition. When we talk about, the great stuff we've done with Kemmerer and the nuclear power plant there, we've got Tennessee, we've got Georgia that are anxious to pick those up. And Governor Cox was just here. We were talking about that competition. That's healthy for the country. That's good for everybody. But when you look at oil and gas, we also have to be competitive. We have to make sure that it's better to do business here in Wyoming than it is to do it in New Mexico or Texas. So it's kind of all of the above.
We're also in competition with other states and their legal eagles when it comes to water rights. That I'm really concerned about the Colorado, the River Compact and water into the future. There's going to be legal fights over that. And I'm hoping Wyoming has enough firepower to make our voice heard.
Well, absolutely, Jake. That was something we tried to put in the budget 2 years ago, and then also in the supplemental to make sure that we buttressed ourselves. Everybody started arming themselves with new lawyers and better firms. And so there's all this traditional fight between the upper and the lower basins and the interpretations over that compact. And you think about how hard Governor Emerson fought to make sure that we got our appropriation of water, and we've got to hold our end up now. So, as we look at the next couple of years where Colorado, for example, is going to be really hard pressed, we need to make sure that we are able, we always punch above our weight, but we're arrayed or up against some formidable adversaries. Luckily, we've been able to, the four governors, Governor Polis, Governor Lujan Grisham, Governor Cox, and I sat down and said, look, let's make sure our upper basin stays on the same page, because we start fracturing, that makes it harder. But right there in the Snake, Idaho, that's an issue. We've got the Missouri River. This is a battle that's brewing.
We're talking to Governor Mark Gordon. Just a couple more things, Governor. Please give a pat on the back for our buddy, State Treasurer Kurt Meyer. My goodness, $1.86 billion, record high investment revenues. That's good news when we're talking about budgeting.
Yeah, no, it is. And it feels particularly good, Jake, because even Cynthia Lummis, way back when she was treasurer, started some of the, you could even talk about Stan Smith. But there's been a steady progression. When I worked very hard to get Amendment A through, that allowed us to do a little bit more with our investments, and Kurt's really taken it home. That is awesome. That I don't think people understand that when we've set money aside for savings, it isn't just sitting there. It's actually gaining strength. It's actually giving return back to the state. Just like you said, it's the highest revenue source that we had, and that's good. If you go back to the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund and the impetus for that, it was to make sure that the people that came after us had the same kind of opportunities that those that were able to mine the coal and do the oil that paid those taxes. So they got some of that benefit too.
My money just sits there, but Wyoming's money is working all the time. I got to have Kurt work my portfolio or something. So you're pretty confident. I mean, this budget, other than accounting for inflation, is pretty tight. It's pretty lean. There is not a lot of bloat here. You're pretty confident how this is going to hold up beginning February 9th, when some very fiscally conservative folks are going to have eyes on it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this is my recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
The legislature is the ones that pick it up after that. We'll see if they want to make cuts. I'm pretty confident that wherever you make cuts, there's going to be some pain, and maybe that's what we need to have. I don't know. We'll see what that sorts out as. But when I talk about fiscally conservative, it is about making sure you make the right investments. It's not just about cutting. I've always made this point about what's cheap versus what's conservative. And if you're just cheap, I think we've all been to the store with our kids and had a cheap toy that doesn't even make it home. And that's one of my concerns, is that we make sure that the substance of Wyoming, those things that make Wyoming go, are preserved and protected.
On a positive note, one last thing. You met with Wyoming Business Alliance, their annual forum last week. You said Wyoming is at a crossroads, but there's reason to be optimistic. Why so? What are the crossroads, and where are we going that's good?
Well, I think, Jake, my concern is right now we have such a bright future. We've expanded our business opportunities more. We've changed our education system. It's doing better. We're more attuned with what all of industry needs. It's now time to run as hard as we can for the end zone, just to, kind of do the Josh Allen thing. But what worries me a little bit is that there is this notion that's, we refer to it as nostalgia budgeting. Let's go back to whatever point in time. Let's go back to the 1920s or maybe the 1970s or whatever that is. Times are different. And all we're doing at that point is just lopping our feet off before we've even had a chance to get going. And my concern is if we don't keep our eye on the end zone, if we don't keep our eye on making sure Wyoming moves forward, we're going to be left in the dust. And I feel very strongly that Wyoming presents more opportunity now, more of an ability to be able to work here with government and craft your own future than anywhere else in the country. So it is time that we double down and really make sure that we do the best we can. The crossroads is that either we go backwards and have some sort of nostalgic notion, or we go forwards and build something for our kids. I grew up with family that talked about, you always leave this place better for being here.
Nostalgia for maybe number 17. You're going to go to the game, or are we going to see you on the Jumbotron Saturday?
I don't know if you'll see us on the Jumbotron, but we'll be there.
Yes. Go Pokes. Thank you, Governor.
Go Pokes.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Governor Mark Gordon dropping in, talking budget stuff. That's what it's going to be all about, the budget this session. Budget session. And he has produced a lean, mean budget. We'll see how it does when lawmakers get a hold of it. Let's take a quick break. We'll get Andrew Rossi in here on the show right after these.
Wyoming is the Cowboy State. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Sometimes fatherhood
I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
can feel like an epic battle.
But you will.
But you can change your kid's world just by being there. And with a little help, you won't believe how high they can soar.
All right, bud, you ready? I'm proud to call you my son. Come on!
Never stop being a dad. To learn more, visit FathersIncorporated.com.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake, talking to Governor Gordon about the budget. Yeah, I know, budget. My eyes glaze over whenever we got to talk about money and spending and balancing a budget. Oh, I'm glad there's accountants. I'm glad there's treasurers like Kurt Meyer and people who are good at that. The governor's proposed budget, which she's been banging away at for a while, was unveiled just the other day, and some folks looking at it say it is pretty tight. It's an overall increase, but not a lot. In fact, when you factor in inflation from 2024 to 2026, this new budget reflects really just inflation as the increases, and many departments had to suffer cuts. It's pretty tight, pretty lean, clean budget, and we'll see how the Freedom Caucus and other fiscally conservative Republicans down in Cheyenne see what they think coming up in February. Andrew Rossi is kind of hit and miss on Wednesdays, and right now he seems to be missed. So we'll carry on. We do have a lot of other stuff to get to, including this day in history. I want to make sure we cover that because we're pretty tight on guests coming up. We also are going to have Claire McFarland here soon. Jared Petrino will talk about the retiring of Josh Allen's number. All indications are Josh Allen will be there in Laramie. It's not a guarantee. I have not heard that it's a done deal, but certainly expecting it to be so. Josh always supports his old college. He's so good about that. He credits with Wyoming with taking a chance on him. Nobody wanted this guy out of high school. I mean, he couldn't get a D3, D2 school really to look at him, let alone a D1 program. And he was a good high school football player, not at the most high profile high school, but, you know, California high school. He had all the right tools, big kid, strong arm, but nobody was interested except for Wyoming. They said, yeah, man, get here as soon as you can. And Josh just lit it up. He is what this Wyoming needs today. I don't want to disparage Caden Anderson, the sophomore quarterback we got right now, but he's not Josh Allen. And Josh didn't need a team around him. He still doesn't. Look what he does. Look what he does in Buffalo. He's got no receivers. He does have a running game. And he makes the most out of whatever you give him because he just plays hero football. He just balls out when he has to. And, man, that game last weekend, 6 touchdowns. You know how many quarterbacks have accounted for 6 TDs in a game? 1. His name is Josh Allen. He's done it twice. It's ridiculous. He's the greatest football player of our time. Colin Cowherd said that. And I say that. And, man, and this guy got his start in the brown and gold in Laradice, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be there Saturday. Buffalo, his team plays tomorrow night, which is, I'm crossing my fingers it isn't the prime jinx. It's one of the Thursday night prime games. And every one of those games has been dreadfully boring and just terrible football. And this goes back to last year. For the most part, Thursday night football is a mistake. The games are horrible because I think the teams are ill prepared. It's one thing to be playing on Monday night and have a short, and then play Sunday and have a short off time to study film to get ready for your next opponent. But the Thursday game, it's weird. It should only happen on Thanksgiving. I don't like it. Most of the Thursday night games on Prime have been jinxed in that way that they're just terrible games. Like baseball scores. 3-0. How exciting. And Al Michaels cannot make them more exciting. Al's kind of, the gray hairs are showing on Al. He doesn't make the game. No one can make the game exciting. These Thursday night games have been terrible. So I hope the Bills don't fall victim to the Thursday night jinx on Prime, because they need to beat Houston, and then Josh can come to Laramie. He's got the whole weekend off. He's got a honey-do list from Haley, maybe, but no reason why the both of them can't get down to Laramie Saturday to see his number retired. First time, the only number ever retired by the Wyoming Cowboys. It'll be the 17. We're going to put it up, hoist it to the rafters. The governor's going to be there. And hopefully Josh and Haley will be there. Won't that be something? Jared Petrino will be on later, and we'll talk about that. By the way, it's Nevada Wolfpack who Wyoming is playing Saturday. So it's good that we'll also probably win. Like, we got a patsy for an opponent. How perfect to retire Josh's number on this weekend. Final home game. That's huge. Isn't that nice? Weather will be pretty good. Also, it's against a team we'll probably beat. And for a Wyoming team that's not having a great season, that's important. The Wolfpack is dead last in the Mountain West. They're not very good. We should be able to beat them, especially if Josh Allen decides to put on the 17 and a helmet and get in there. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, so it was well timed. Don't think that this game isn't happening on this Saturday for a reason. Final home game for the Cowboys against an opponent that will probably trample them. And it's a weekend that the Bills have off because they play on a Thursday. Like, this was all perfectly timed to get Josh Allen to the game. And I hope so. Let's do this day in history real fast. Here's what it looks like. November 19. These things happen on this day in history. Bear River City riot occurred. What was that about? 1868, the Bear River City riot occurred, which parties supporting a lynched murder suspect, those supporting the lynching, rioted. Oh, so the town marshal bravely stood his ground. This is Old West stuff. The cavalry was dispatched from Fort Bridger to restore order. 1868, when we strung up bad guys, sometimes without a proper trial. So I guess there's Bear River City riot this day. 1890 this day in Wyoming, after several days of balloting, Governor Warren was elected as second senator from Wyoming. Joseph Carey had been elected as the first senator ever from Wyoming on November 14th. But this day, Governor Warren elected as Wyoming's second senator. George Sabin was sentenced for second-degree murder for his part in the Spring Creek raid. 1909, George Sabin is featured in a story I wrote about the baseball team from the penitentiary. You remember that? Anybody read that? Wyoming Penitentiary, the state pen, had a sponsored baseball team that was pretty good in the day, in the early 1910s. And George Sabin was the player coach. He played little, but mostly he was the coach. He was sentenced on this day for second-degree murder. He had killed some sheep herders, he and his buddies, and that was all part of the, cattlemen versus sheepmen wars that were going on in Wyoming. This was kind of the last straw. George Sabin, for a long time, local enforcement was pretty spotty regarding any violence done to sheep herders. It was like, yeah, good. That's so Wyoming. But 1909, Sabin's sentencing represents a time when Wyoming was saying, hey, enough with the sheep violence, time to restore law and order. George Sabin would coach that penitentiary baseball team and eventually escape the pen. Not during a baseball game. That would have been great, right? For the team to be playing somewhere and he all of a sudden, you're like, the third base coach is gone. What the heck? George Saban, escaped. He escaped from a work detail in Basin, Wyoming on Christmas Day 1913, was never recaptured. Interesting. This day, 1980, Heaven's Gate, a widely panned at the time movie, later became more respected. It loosely tells the story of the Johnson County War. It premiered this day in 1980. It's also the birthday of Zane Beadles, Denver Broncos guard. He also played for a bunch of other teams. Zane Beadles was born in Casper, grew up in Utah. His mom and dad went to UW, and we were hoping he'd be a Poke, but he decided to go to Utah, darn. But Zane Beadles had a great career in the NFL as an offensive lineman. All right, we are out of time for this hour. We got to take top of the hour news break of the Cowboy State Daily Show. We'll see you on the other side of that.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. Secretary of State Chuck Gray claims Governor Mark Gordon isn't including money to advertise a property tax ballot initiative in his biennial budget. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Governor Gordon says the secretary managed to fulfill his publication requirements before without extra money.
Secretary Gray, within 19 hours of Gordon's proposed budget plan, was lamenting why, I'm sure, is this a scheme against the law-mandated notifications I have to do about the ballot initiative we have coming up, which is to reduce property taxes yet again. And the governor fired back in his own comment, you didn't have problems with the notifications you were required to do in 2024. You didn't have an extra request at that time. So the governor was like, I'm just kind of letting you lead.
Gray's office is budgeted in the 2025-26 for $9.5 million. The secretary asked for almost $10.5 million for the upcoming biennium. Gordon is proposing Gray's office receives $200,000 less than requested. Wyoming is bucking a national trend by growing its horse racing industry, but as Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports, legislators want more control of the gaming terminals that support its big purses amid complaints the state is looking too much like Montana.
People feel like there are too many of these gaming terminals across the state. And now that is not just historic horse racing terminals, but they're also talking about those terminals like Cowboy Skill Games. And so one of the things that's been happening is Cowboy Skill Games have been popping up in grocery stores.
Nationwide, the horse racing industry has been in a steady decline, but not in Wyoming. The newly merged joint venture between Wyoming Downs and 307 Horse Racing nearly doubled in attendance at their Evanston track this year to 1,700 people per day on average. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
Right now, there's a powerful chance to change a life, maybe even save one. The Wyoming Rescue Mission is offering a unique opportunity where every dollar you give is matched, doubled, to bring hope to those in desperate need. But time is running out. They must raise $175,000 by May 31st for our neighbors who need it most. Please go to wyomission.org/donate. Help bring comfort, dignity, and a second chance. That's wyomission.org/donate.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming lawmakers advanced 5 bills on Tuesday to tighten control over slot machine gaming, citing its explosive growth. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that industry leaders defended the machines as vital to funding live horse racing and rural economic activity, but the Management Council wants to pump the brakes.
Well, the Management Council is the legislature's administrative arm. So they sent out this task force to really look at the gaming statutes and what could be improved. And the task force came back like, we got to tighten our definitions of criminal gambling. We got to give local governments a potential kill switch to where they can shut some of these down if they feel they're hurting their people. And we got to keep these skill-based amusement games out of packaged liquor stores.
If the current drafts become law in the legislative session that opens February 9th, the bills would provide prosecutors more power to charge gambling crimes and strengthen penalties against money laundering, while also giving local governments more authority to oversee simulcasting and horse racing terminals. Campbell County Commissioners passed a resolution Tuesday banning the storage of high-level nuclear waste in the county. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the commissioners say it's a message that as Wyoming's nuclear industry grows, Campbell County has no intentions of becoming a nuclear waste dump.
The commissioners have heard a lot from community members to the point where they've crafted and passed a no nuclear waste resolution for the community. And basically, after 2 months of discussion, what this is the community saying, hey, look, we're watching. We know that a piece of the nuclear industry is waste disposal, and we do not want to become some default dumping ground. And I think Commissioner Bob Jordan put it best that the resolution is kind of planting a flag saying, we're aware of what's going on. Down the road, you can't accuse us of not paying attention. We are stating our position now.
The resolution underwent substantial changes from its initial form in September when Commissioner Jerry Means proposed placing the nuclear waste storage issue on the 2026 general election ballot. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
I do not have guns at home.
I feel really safe and secure having a gun in the house.
Judge, my opponent is completely disregarding almost half of my arguments which I responded to.
Communities must step up
Laws
and
alone
protest
cannot
against this
stop
normalization.
bullets.
Our community must educate and push back against all that violence.
Every individual needs to be aware of what they can do to keep kids safe.
I completely disagree.
I'm not going to listen to points that are completely ridiculous.
Point of inquiry. Do you guys even realize that the #1 killer of children and teens are gun injuries? Why are we fighting about this?
We have a serious problem in this country.
There is no adult in this earth that wants children to die.
I worry for my kids.
Cowboy State Daily Show. It's a Wednesday, so Claire McFarland's here. Claire, hi.
Hey.
How's everything?
Good. How are you?
Good. You want to talk budget?
Whatever you want to talk about, Jake.
It's not very exciting, but we did just have Governor Gordon on, and he gave us an inside sneak peek under the hood of the budget, but we've already seen it just a couple of days or two ago. It's lean, mean, clean. We'll find out if it's lean enough for those fiscally conservative Freedom Caucus folks coming up in February, but I don't see a lot of blow. I'm not a budget expert, though. What do you think?
I thought that the treasurer's statement yesterday was interesting. It was nestled in kind of in the bottom of one of my stories, but he was talking like, okay, governor wants to put $250 million in savings. I want to put instead $100 million. So basically, the treasurer is having a good year.
Oh,
yeah. He's enjoying himself. He's got $1.86 billion in investment revenues and just like blew all expectations out of the water, right? So he's enjoying himself, but he said, okay, Gordon, I like what you're doing, but I want to take some of our investment revenues and reinvest them into long-term investing. And so that's interesting to me. That's a lot of uses of the word invest. But I'm new to that whole, I don't play the stock market or anything like that. So people got to hold my hand here.
Yeah. Well, when you got two treasurers in the room, Gordon is a former treasurer and Kurt Meyer is killing it. Of course, they're going to be like all talking about ROI and investing and all that. So, yeah, that's pretty good news. The money Wyoming made off its money. I think there'll be some happy folks seeing the budget. Wyoming Department of Health has been under scrutiny just because the budget's so big. Oh my goodness, what percentage? I mean, that's an $11+ billion
out of 11.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? More than a quarter?
Yeah. It's significant how much, but health, I mean, that's important. That seems like a basic government thing, to ensure the prosperity and health of its citizens. That's pretty basic of government. But it
depends where you fall. There's going to be a spectrum here, right? There's going to be a spectrum, and there's going to be people who are like, we need more hospitals in rural areas, for example. We need these services. And there's going to be folks in rural areas like, honestly, I stay out here because I am willing to take the risk. I don't need a big shiny hospital and the extra tax revenue that would need to support it and the corollary ambulance service. So you're going to find people that fall either side. There's folks that have posters up in their house that say, we don't call 911. And, and then there's folks that are like, let's be humans to other humans. And so it's interesting in Wyoming. Not everyone is like, healthcare is always a function of government. But of course, there are people who do feel that way. So it is a topic for debate.
There are some Duck Dynasty folks in Wyoming who say, I call 911 just to get the coroner to come out. The incident's over. Yeah. Let's talk about gambling. Oops, I'm supposed to call it gaming. I think Wyoming is on its way to a gambling problem. That's me. Beginning with the fact that we don't call it gambling, we call it gaming.
We're euphemistic. If gaming is what we call the stuff we permit and regulate, gambling is what we call the stuff we prosecute. We play with words.
And some of these end runs around gaming, it's not gambling because it's not a game of chance. It's a historic horse race that's already been run. It's like, oh, wow, technicalities. I love what Senator Beitman said. He's called it a bizarre business model. He's like, horse racing, nobody goes to the horse races. And he said more people go to a 1A 6-man football game in Meeteetse than go to a horse race. It's really an industry propped up for the gambling aspect of it or the gaming aspect of it.
Well, that was all the argument 12 years ago was, look, let's get these horse races going. Here's an industry that would easily support them. So we're going to hitch the two to each other.
Yeah.
And I think what Beitman was kind of like, was this really to save live racing? Or was that a foot in the door kind of thing? I'm not going to take the side on that, but that was his vibe, really, was like, okay.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I see a lot of that. Beitman and I agree on that. I find myself agreeing with Just Ask Joey in that Joey Carenti.
Just blame Joey. You got to
blame Joey. Sorry.
We start by blaming him. We ask questions later.
I'm in the Joey camp when he talked about the GOP. What is it? What was their meeting recently? The Republican Party.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to Torrington on Friday night.
Yeah.
Saturday, spent the day there. Lovely town, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
I had a nice 8-mile run among the silos. It was just...
Aw.
It was so sweet and perfect. And but anyway, so the GOP meeting. So clarifying here. Yes, the state GOP takes these stands and makes these resolutions, often telling lawmakers or other state agencies, entities to do something. Like, hey, this is what we would like to see you do. This is the very just blunt, rough draft phase of policy process where the party, which is going to consist of, party leaders are going to consist of some of the most zealous, in this case, Republicans that are now voting, because it takes a certain measure of zeal to want to give up that many Saturdays on political functions. It does.
Yeah.
Especially Wyoming, we have beautiful Saturdays. But so you're going to have a room full of some of the more zealous political people, and then they are just kind of together hashing out these resolutions aren't final. Obviously, it's not like the things the GOP says are the
nuclear energy and the storage of nuclear. Let's address this. Let's get ahead of it. That's cool. What do we think about, a right to life, abortion? How are we going to repeal Biden era's policy? And then somebody, if you're there at the function, Claire, somebody jumps up in the back of the room and says, and we have to ban Sharia law. What?
Well, I don't know. They listed two things that are already illegal. There might be other components of Sharia law that they didn't list that they want to address. I don't know, because again, we're not in the legislature yet. But what were you talking about, Joey?
Oh, so Joey, I thought I agreed with him regarding the Charlie Kirk, the idea that we should make it extra bad if you're a state employee, I guess, and you get on your Facebook and you say, I'm glad Charlie Kirk's dead. You should be punished by the government. Charlie Kirk said, or Joey said, "What? Who made the government the governing body here, the decider? If you say outlandish things about Charlie Kirk on your Facebooks, maybe your boss can fire you. It has, there's going to be recourse. You don't have total freedom of speech, but why does the government have to play Pope here?"
You don't have total freedom of speech. Like when we were covering the Wiley case and Judge Scavdall said, Ashley Wiley, your employer can ask you to use the transgender pronouns, for example. She did still have a religious claim viable at that time, but not a speech claim. So it's not the same. But yeah, like, to what extent you running your mouth as say, a teacher after hours on your Facebook page, I guess if your board feels that violates their policies in place or shows that you're not fit as a teacher, that you're compromised somehow, according to Joey and I can't remember if Scott Clem spoke on that, but according to Joey Kareni, that's kind of up to that local board, not the GOP. He was interesting because he said if this body is gonna go after people for being reprehensible, not exact words, it should have come after me a long time ago. It should have come after me a few years ago. And it's interesting to watch him own, because we called him a GOP firebrand. We covered his reckless endangering case. We covered a past fight at a Charlie Kirk event where he was actually found to have acted in self-defense. So we've covered this colorful Correnti past, and rather than shy from that, he's now owning that and owning the moniker Jailbird Joey, and it's interesting to watch that strategy in play. Yeah, when Joey Correnti hears something he doesn't like out of your mouth, he may come down to knuckles, man. He is definitely, firebrand. But I love the quote. He said, I don't know when we started endorsing the regulation of free speech by government. In fact, our 22nd plank specifically prohibits it. I find myself agreeing with Just Blame Joey on this one. You want to talk about one last thing? This dog poisoning thing. Oh, feel bad for the dog. And I feel bad for the two 19-year-olds who were probably BFFs, roommates for sure. And then, behind their back, behind the facade of friendship, you got one who hates the dog that the other has adopted and is secretly, allegedly poisoning it. Oh, my. Thank you for saying allegedly.
Yeah.
This is a very early phase that hasn't even cleared the probable cause bar yet.
Okay.
That hearing later this month. So hard thing about this is, yes, I am a newswoman. In my head, when I'm in work mode, I think of myself, like I picture myself as Eminem. Anyway, no, that's not what's saying. So yes, it is newsworthy. Sorry, everyone, that this is the police chief's daughter. It is. And I hate that because as, someone that's in the public eye myself, I realize that if my kid gets in trouble to that degree, my name will be in the headline, and that's fair too. And yeah. I gotta, And so I accepted that headline with the very weighty understanding that this could be me, could be anyone in the public eye, and it's not, doesn't feel good, is newsworthy, and that's the way it shakes out. But I did talk to the alleged victim, the dog's owner, and she gave us a little, she made it three-dimensional for us, saying, this police chief is a good guy, and just everyone, please lay off of him.
Yeah. I think it's newsworthy without the aspect of one of the people involved being the daughter of the police chief. It's noteworthy in that if this does go to trial, if this does see any legal action, Sublette County is going to have to pinch hit here because nobody in Sweetwater is going to want anything to do with it. But I think it's newsworthy just because it's just so human interest. 2 19-year-olds embarking on life, and one adopts a dog and the other, I mean, if this turns out to be a case of like dog poisoning, and I thought the dog owner who misses her dog, but I think she's got it in really good perspective. Did you find her to be, pretty well-grounded? She said, it's not so much the dog I miss, it's the realization someone I love so deeply could do something so cruel, potentially, and hide it from me. That broke me in a way I've never experienced. I thought that was a powerful quote.
Yeah, for all of us, because as you go through your day, you're amassing reality under you based on things you believe to be true. And so for all of us, when that reality crumbles, it's a very devastating thing. Like, oh, this thing that I accepted as a truth and formed other logical bases from does not belong in that solid form. And so now I have to reassess who I am, where I'm going, whom I love. And it speaks true across all sorts of incidents and events and people and stories.
It'd be akin to me finding out you bought a shiny new pair of sneakers to run in and you suddenly love sports ball. I'd be like, wait a minute, what happened to Claire?
This should not be. Yeah.
Have a great day.
You too.
Claire McFarland, Cowboy State Daily Show. We got a pause for the cause. Coming right back at you after this.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks.
Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there?
I got stuff.
Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you looking for?
I don't think many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
So the big headline story of the day, if you're just waking up to the news, is suddenly this Epstein file thing is moving forward at lightning fast speed. At least compared to how fast we got a budget resolution, how fast the CR went through. The budget shut down for over a month because Congress couldn't get anything done. And suddenly, the Epstein files breeze through the House like that. Just one no vote. And that was not Representative Hageman. I'll give you that. Spoiler alert. The only no vote was Clay Higgins. I did see a news story on, oh boy, what was it? CNN maybe, that Higgins explained why he was a no vote. I wasn't interested enough to read it, but Representative Higgins, Republican of Louisiana, was the only guy who said he didn't care what was in the Epstein files, I guess, or wasn't terribly interested to know. 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats abstained. And the total, when they got done, 427-1. Harriet Hageman was on board as being in favor of moving the bill to the Senate that would open these explosive Epstein files, where we'll find out who was messing around with who was cheating on their wife with hookers and snorting cocaine and doing all these bad things with Epstein. And I'm thinking Senator Barrasso is kind of in my camp with it. I'm just so over it. But I guess I'm in the great minority. Everywhere you go on socials, everywhere you go, what they painted the rock here. The school rock that usually has like some school pride, or they paint the school rock. Beat the Wombats this weekend. They painted the rock. Release the Epstein files. Everywhere it's Epstein. And I talked to Senator Barrasso on this show just days ago. And I did bring it up only because everybody's bringing it up. I didn't even want to go there. I felt sheepish even bringing it up. And I said, Senator Barrasso, what would be your vote? What about the Epstein files? And Barrasso said the same thing to me that he's saying to big national news outlets today. Basically, to paraphrase, Senator Barrasso said, number one, I don't see a lot of my constituents worried about it. I think there's bigger things to worry about. I think government should be getting down to serious issues like health care, like inflation fighting things, border control, like name dozens of things that are more important than finding out what was the sordid life of a financier that is dead and gone. And he said, this isn't about justice. Don't think this is about justice. I don't think this is about victims getting recognized, he said this is political. And he acted like he didn't think it was even going to get to the Senate. The first thing he said is, Jake, the House hasn't even heard this yet. When it gets to the Senate, then maybe I'll decide. Well, it got to the Senate last night. Bam. Pretty fast. The House breezed through. It got to the Senate where Thune said, was it Thune? He said, I want to see unanimous. I don't want to see anybody vote nay here. You pass this thing and you pass it now. And they did. Bam. It went unanimous. It went real quick, including a vote from Senator Barrasso. But Barrasso reiterated what he told us first on the Cowboy State Daily Show. He's quoted in this article in the Cowboy State Daily. Sean Barry has the quote. I've heard him go on other national news outlets saying the same thing that he told us first. He said, one, if it passes the House, then we'll see. He told me that. And I'm thinking, well, it will pass the House. I got a feeling you're going to be looking at this soon. And sure enough, it hit the Senate floor last night. He said, we'll see if they send something to the Senate. They did. This is Sean Barry's latest story. It's out now in the Cowboy State Daily, but it's old news already. We'll see if they send something to the Senate. Well, they did, and the Senate passed it fast last night. Barrasso said, he said, I think there's more important things to talk about right now to get the country back on track. Yup. To lower prices for the American people. Yes. I don't know how, and I do feel for victims. If there is a 15-year-old that was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, if there were young ladies that even against their will or with their will were used in wild sex parties and orgies, yes, there are victims. And justice should be done. And finding and convicting other sex offenders who are still around, because Epstein's gone, yes, that is important. But how does it stack up to other things that could consume the time of Congress, including, as Barrasso says, lowering the prices for American people? I'd rather be able to afford ground beef tomorrow and a turkey next week than to know who's named in the Epstein files. That's of lower importance for me. Healthcare premiums are doubling in Wyoming. At the start of 2026, your premium is going to double if you can get healthcare at all. How is Epstein files going to help me with that? Make life more affordable, Barrasso said. That's what the people want. He's right. I think, unless you're in this Epstein camp, I think it's just become a battle cry for Democrats when it suits them and a battle cry for Republicans when it suits them. It's just become this poster child of all that's wrong in the nation. And as soon as we know who's in the Epstein files, everything will be great. Huh. I don't understand why this thing has been elevated to the political football it's become. Maybe the media can't stop talking about it. I don't know. But it's got legs. People cannot. How long ago was the Epstein? How long ago did he get found dead in his jail cell? The president and the Senate and the House, Barrasso said, need to be functioning and working on the important things, not on what's happened to a convicted sex offender who is now dead. Quote from Senator Barrasso. Yep. But Barrasso did acknowledge if there is information in these files about other individuals that need to be prosecuted, then they will be prosecuted. Fellow Senator Cynthia Lummis, Republican, Wyoming, supports the release of the files. As I've previously said, quoted Lummis, I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. The Epstein files should be released. I'm glad that the Trump administration agrees with that position. If brought up for a vote in the Senate, I'll support it. She did. It breezed through the Senate last night. It's now on President Trump's desk. He's expected to sign it, and we will all know what's in the Epstein files. We can stop with the release the Epstein file cry. Trump changed his mind Sunday night. I think he posted on his social Truth Justice saying that, yeah, now he does want the Epstein files released. But it went Harriet Hageman, Senator Barrasso, Senator Lummis, all voting in favor of seeing what's in the Epstein files. That should solve everything. I don't know. Maybe people do think it's important. It's wrong what happened. It's wrong what Epstein did. It's very wrong whoever else did it with him. And that's something for the Department of Justice to dig their teeth into and go after. But to say this is the top of the list for the American people concerns, I find that hard to believe. Not in Wyoming. You walk around Wyoming, you say, what's your biggest concern these days? And they'll give you a laundry list of things that concern them. And what celebrity or lawmaker or politician was at an Epstein party how many years ago is probably not real high on their today to-do list. I don't know. Let's go to other things that are just as mystifying, including today's youth. Today, these kids today, playing a game of quick draw. Oh, man, it's the video games, I guess. I mean, youth weren't like this in The Greatest Generation, were they? This is a 21-year-old man, defined as a man, Cheyenne man, 21. And he accidentally shot his 16-year-old friend in the head while playing a game of quick draw on Mother's Day and tried to cover it up. I have what's a 21-year-old doing hanging out with a 16-year-old? Number one, that never happened in my day. Dude, if you were 17, you didn't want to hang out with 16-year-olds. There was a huge difference between a high school senior and a sophomore. Like, you did not sit at the same table at the cafeteria, much less be hanging out with them after hours at his mom's house where you're playing a game of quick draw with real firearms, loaded. And in the room were a 12-year-old girl and a 14-year-old girl. Imagine that. A 12-year-old girl has to see one of her friends shot in the face. You'll never unsee that. 3 females were in the room, I guess. Belden's fiance is one of them. Belden is the 21-year-old man who thinks life is a video game. And throughout the day that day, Belden's fiance said, I had to keep telling my boyfriend to stop pointing your gun at people. He would take it out of it. He had it in his waistband because that's how gangsters roll. And he would point it at people, point at his friend. And she's like, stop doing that. That's going to go off. She had to be the adult in the room. And in the other kids in the room are a 12-year-old girl and a 14-year-old girl. Oh, those poor things. You got to hang out with a better class of friends, young ladies. They had to witness the shoot. They had to see 16-year-old shot in the face. Shot right above his left eye. Bullet exited behind his left ear. Sebastian Belden is the 21-year-old shooter who is living a Peter Pan life, just hasn't grown up, thinks the world is a video game. Seb You'll get some time in prison to think about it and grow up. You're going to grow up fast in a cage. Real fast. I don't get it. 16-year-old shot dead. This goes back. And then in the aftermath, this wasn't like a mistake either, you know? Oops. He would his first inclination, Seb's first inclination was to hide it. He asked everybody who witnessed it, don't tell anyone what happened. And then he went outside and tried to throw the gun away. Investigators found it because life's not a video game, and Trona County Sheriff's Office knows how to find weapons. They found that in 2 seconds. He then said, the safety must have malfunctioned. Now, he took the safety off. There was no way that gun fires without your finger on the trigger, said investigators. Yeah, this is what happens. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. You're looking at a pretty good stint in the pen. 21-year-old Cheyenne man. Back in the 40s, a 21-year-old was already married with a kid and off to war. 21-year-old today is playing games with his 9mm. Okay, so he entered a plea deal with Natrona County District Attorney's Office. He pled guilty to one charge of aggravated assault and battery, while a second similar charge was dropped. Assault and battery. This is homicide, is it not? How is this not manslaughter? I'm confused. Dale Killingbeck wrote this story. Dale comes on Mondays. I wish I had him here right now, because how is this not manslaughter? Assault and battery. He shot a 16-year-old in the head. Accidentally, but whatever. Yeah, were you pointing the firearm at him in a reckless manner? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, Seb replied. Is the 16-year-old not dead? Is that maybe why he's only got the assault and battery? I assume the 16-year-old was killed in this shooting. This happened, by the way, back on May 11th, 2025, Mother's Day. Yeah, I don't know how a plea deal gets you to aggravated assault and battery. All right. We got to take a break because Jared Petrino is ready to go. We're going to talk UW sports right after this quick commercial break.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Bloom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
Back from break, Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. By the way, that 16-year-old that we were just talking about, that shooting incident, was not killed. He was seriously injured, but not killed. So, therefore, I guess maybe not a manslaughter charge, but yeah. Jared Petrino, on that lovely note, Jared joins us, and we're going to talk about UW sports, particularly college football and Josh Allen and all that, man. This weekend's going to be big in Laramie. You've got to be going, right, Jared? Can you?
Yeah, I'll be the color guy. I'll be calling it on TV. So
Nice.
If you're watching the Mountain West Network or the CW, I'll be on the call. So
I hope you're brushing up on all your Josh Allen trivia.
Yeah.
For those, those stretches of game where the color guy has to fill when the offense is sputtering. Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll have a big reel ready for everybody.
Yeah, I hope you have a lot of color to add because, man, the way UW's offense has been rolling, holy cow. Let's talk last week first before we look ahead. Last week, Fresno State, look, that's a defense, man. They aren't allowing anybody to play football. They aren't allowing anyone to score. They pitched 2 shutouts going into that game. So we knew it would be a tough road for the UW offense, but man, was it tough. Caden did not have a great day.
No, you're exactly right. And you look at the last 2 weeks, they played there's 3 teams. The top 3 teams in defense in the Mountain West are San Diego State, Wyoming, and then Fresno. So they played 2 of the top 3 defenses in the conference last 3 weeks, and so but you want to be measured against the best, right? But at the same time, it showed when we're struggling, and elements might have played a little bit of role in that, but it was hard for them to get in any rhythm, anything going, and it was definitely a struggle on both sides of the ball, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early to give up on Caden Anderson. I mean, he's only a sophomore, right?
No, I agree with that. I think we just got to get him some confidence. You just got to get him going, and we got to create competition for him. I think it really bums me out about Landon Sims. It really does, because I felt like he was coming, and he adds that run pass dynamic that Caden really doesn't give us, the run stuff. But so obviously we got to figure out these last couple games, and hopefully he can get some confidence, especially early on Saturday. Hopefully he can get some confidence early on.
Sims gives you a different facet, a different look at QB, which is nice. But he also gives you some snaps from a guy who you're not trying to redshirt. The freshman Drew, are we up against any kind of maximum? Like, he can't play a certain amount of plays if he wants to redshirt. I don't know if that's the call by UW, but.
No, he should be good because he played this. That was his first game he played in. So you can play in 4 games as a freshman and still count as a redshirt. So this would be playing in the last 3, and the bowl games don't count against that. So if they were to qualify for a bowl game, even though that'd still be just his 4th anyway, but yeah, so you can, he'll be fine. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to, as a course of, what the organization is trying to do, you want to mothball Mason, give him another year to bulk up and hope he doesn't get in the transfer portal, which I'm hoping with Tote. Oh my goodness. The only highlight last week was Tote's 96 yards of Tote in the ball. And you know what? At this point in the season, Jared, is it realistic in today's college football environment we're in is to, when you look at a team that's sub 500, they've lost their chance for a bowl game. What you have to play for is at least make your team appear successful and inviting enough that you don't have freshmen saying, I want out of here. I mean, you got to play for Tote. I don't want Tote going anywhere. If he jumps in that portal, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, that's the nature of college football these days. I mean, you're seeing kids already start going to the portal right now, and with games still left on their schedule. So, that's sad to see. And you, as coaches now, you're working on retaining your roster, and you're not just recruiting kids to come to your program, but you're recruiting your own roster to stick around. And that's just the environment that's been created. And the one thing that's nice is now we only have one window we have to worry about instead of two. That you used to have to sweat two transfer portal windows. Now you only have to stress one. So obviously as long as they come back in January, we got them for the next year. So there's no more spring portal. So that's one less stressor that we can have. But at the same time, yeah, it's holding on to those guys and getting them to believe that we're not far away. That's why I think this weekend is so big, because it allows them, if we're able to put something together and get a win this Saturday, I mean, who knows? Go out into Hawaii and get that sixth win and become bowl eligible. That'd be huge for us. I mean, we got to go 2-0, but no one gave us a chance to go to Pullman last year in the last game of the year and win that game, and we did against Tier and a guy who's a Heisman candidate this year for Oklahoma. So.
The Cowboys have shown as recently as last year, with a lot of the same guys on the field this weekend, that they don't quit. They don't care what the win-losses say. They're going to keep playing. That's a positive. You're also got to keep playing for the coaches. Coach Salvell is relatively new. He's still trying to find his footing. And obviously, Javon Bonite is the OC. He's new. So you got to, try to figure. You're still figuring things out in Laredo. So these games are important. Nevada,
yeah, one stat that really stuck out to my mind that I didn't really honestly know, because Coach Bull had been there for so long. But up to this point right now, in this amount of games, Coach Salvell has, I think, 1 or 2 more wins than Coach Bull did at this time. So, I know people are frustrated and everything, but we gotta stay supportive. And I know this weekend could be a huge shot in the arm, especially that environment should be pretty special this Saturday.
Yeah, before we talk about the 17 aspect and the 17 influence, Nevada Wolfpack dead last in the Mountain West. They have not won a road game. UW's 3-2 at home. We should be able to win this game. What do you like about it?
Yeah, the one thing is about Nevada is they're scary talented. You look at some of their scores. They played New Mexico tight to a 1-possession game. They played Boise to a 1-possession game. They play well, but then they get smoked. They get ran out of the stadium against Utah State, and then last week they run San Jose State out of the stadium. I mean, it's just, you just never know, and every game has a life of its own. And last week, I think all the breaks that they weren't getting all year, they got all in one game. Hopefully that's the case. They don't get any more breaks this Saturday, but they're a scary team. I think the biggest thing is how we start. We got to start fresh. We got to put that doubt in their mind early. If they're able to ride that confidence from last week into this week, that's going to, just make things more difficult for them. So, and hopefully they start the here we go again. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they're the ones saying here we go again, and not us. So.
Yeah, well, because of what this game's going to have this Saturday at Laramie, with Josh Allen's number being retired, the first and only number to be retired at UW, the number 17, that there should be built-in excitement right from the get-go. There should be energy on the sidelines, and hopefully UW can get off to a fast start. Have you heard anything, Jared, about Josh making an appearance? Of course, Buffalo plays tomorrow night. I have to think this game was purposely chosen as the game to retire the uniform. Final home game, yes. An opponent we can beat, that would be uplifting for everybody. And the fact that the Bills are essentially off this weekend, unless Haley has a to-do list, a honey-do list for Josh, I'm thinking he makes the trip. Have you heard anything?
Oh yeah, he's going to be there. He's going to be there. He'll be from what I gather, he's going to get there probably late Friday night, and then I think he's got to leave pretty quickly after the game Saturday. Obviously, he's got a job to do. He's got to get back to Buffalo. They got a game the following week. So, but yeah, it turned out. I mean, obviously, anytime you get a Thursday night game and just the stars aligned and everything worked out. It's interesting. This is the first time he's going to be back in Laramie since his pro day. So he hasn't been back to Laramie since his pro day. So that's pretty cool that this is his first time back. And Yeah, it should be an electric atmosphere. I mean, it should be awesome. And I don't know where he's sitting or what he's doing or how that all is going to shake out, but I have heard some of the rumors of what they're going to do in the stadium to represent 17. So it's going to be exciting. So
the governor will be there. We had him on earlier in the show. Gordon was rocking his 17 jersey. So, Jared, there is this relationship between the university and the Buffalo Bills, the NFL team. The university capitalizing on the fame of Josh Allen, obviously, and there's money being exchanged, there's sponsorships, but it is a legitimate relationship. Josh has always talked up Wyoming, saying they were the only college that wanted me, that took a chance on me, man. Nobody wanted to give him a shot. So that's a real kind of bond, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I give a lot of credit to the University of Wyoming and the Alumni Association and the foundation and athletics. They've gone full speed ahead with this thing. You don't get many chances and opportunities like this to put the University of Wyoming on everyone's doorstep. You know what I mean? Every Sunday, anytime his face is on TV, I don't know how many times. I don't think I've ever heard when you see him on Sunday or on a Monday night game, University of Wyoming gets brought up every single time. Yeah. Every time it gets brought up. And I saw last week how they went out there and they supported the local community. They donated to his grandmother's hospital wing, the O'Shea hospital there in Buffalo. That's named after that wing's named after Josh's grandma. I think it's an unbelievable. They're not just taking advantage of the situation, but they're going both feet in, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the university is not manufacturing a relationship. It was already there. It is already there. Right. They're capitalizing on it. They're just making it bigger and more important. And it's significant. You go to a Buffalo Bills game, and there's lots of Wyoming jerseys. You go to a Wyoming game, and the only time you won't see brown and gold, somebody might be rocking the Buffalo blue, man. I mean, it is strong. It means a lot for both sides. That's so neat. I picture this scene. Josh Allen's there. Maybe he's hanging out on the sidelines with Savell, with Javon Bonite. Bonite says, man, I need some help with the offensive playbook. What do I do? And Josh will say, look, give me that book. And he'll tear the sheets right out of me. So this is how I win. I just play hero ball. You don't need any of them plays. You just need to ball out, man. I have Josh on my fantasy football team, so I know what he did last week. 6 touchdowns. Holy cow.
Hey, I think we should just do one better. I think we should just have a locker ready for him, have it all ready for him, and let's just get him out there for a couple series. But you talked about Caden and possibly struggling, but man, how cool would it be if you're sitting in a room and here comes number 17 just coming in and just say, hey man, relax and go play. Go. Caden's, we fell in love with him last year because he was a gunslinger, right? He threw the ball deep and took chances and took shots. And I feel like we've maybe got him playing a little more cautious, but man, just go let her rip and let's see what happens. You know what I mean? And let's go have some fun.
And, and Caden, I think he needs to do what all quarterbacks, what all players that are trying to make a jump to that next level need to do, and that's slow the game down. It's going too fast for him. He panics when when he's in the pocket and he just lets one go. And Josh should be the first one to tell him you just got to slow the game down, and that comes with reps and it comes with time. You can't force that. When the game slows down for him, he's got the skill set. He's got a big arm. He's big kid. He's gonna be somebody, I think. But
no, I don't disagree with that. And I hope there's that opportunity that Josh is able to talk to the quarterback room alone and just talk to those 3 or 4 guys that are in that room. I mean, you can't tell me, you look at those guys that are going out and dressing out on Saturday that, man, I just got to sit in a room with the NFL MVP and he's talking just straight to our, I mean, don't you want to go put on a show for that alone? You know what I mean? And represent that position, so.
Dude, Mason Drew that was in Gillette last year, and he's going to be looking at Josh Allen, and Josh giving quarterbacks a little advice on how he does it. Which
Give me goosebumps right now talking about it, so I can't imagine what they would be. So
I can't imagine. So a lot of upgrades at the stadium. We got a new on-field sponsor now. What is being done at the stadium special for this Saturday that you see, that I mean, this place is going to be packed for one.
the unlimited amounts of security, I'm assuming, that's going
Yes.
to be bottled up. I mean, it's going to be very, very tight. I mean, let's not forget Josh Allen is a unbelievable celebrity, but you know, his better half she's not no slouch either. So I'm assuming there's going to be a ton of security. But other than that, I honestly we're having a production meeting here later this afternoon, so I'll know more after that. But at the same time, it's I'm sure it's going to be pretty bottled up, and I know they gave back a bunch of. So I know there's been tickets being on sale that Nevada gave back that didn't sell, and so there's still tickets available, but I don't see they're going to be available much longer. So.
Well, there's going to be a ton of 17s in Laradice this Saturday, but only one matters. That's the one we're going to put in the rafters, retiring Josh Allen's number. That's going to be, what a game. Go Pokes. Have fun, Jared.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Jake. We'll see you next week.
All right. We got to take a break for news now.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. The U.S. House was one vote shy of unanimously voting to require President Trump to release the Epstein files on Tuesday. Cowboy State Daily's Sean Berry reports from D.C. that included a yes vote from Wyoming's Harriet Hageman, and Senators Lummis and Barrasso are also on board with releasing the files.
There's so much politics back and forth here that no one can definitively say what this means, because Mike Johnson, the leader of the U.S. House, said, I insist that the Senate amend the bill that I am now voting on. John Barrasso of Wyoming, the number 2 Senate GOP member, saying, we'll take a look at it and see what it says. We're not sure whether John Barrasso and the Republicans are going to take it up in the Senate, and if they do, will they amend it as Speaker Johnson wants them to do? And if Speaker Johnson wants the bill amended, well, why did he vote for it in the first place, along with all the Republicans in the House? So there's question after question after question here.
Representative Hageman tells Cowboy State Daily that the reason she voted to release the files was that, quote, Americans deserve full transparency. It could take months to pinpoint what caused 2 high-voltage lines to trip near Medicine Bow last week. Cowboy State Daily's Scott Schwebke reports the reason for the unprecedented blackout for about 100,000 customers won't be known for a while.
Rocky Mountain Power today told me that it's going to take maybe up to several months to really determine the cause of this. They have to analyze a lot of data regarding how much power was in the lines at the time. But they have filed reports with the state and with the federal government as required by law.
The blackout affected customers in Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
Right now, there's a powerful chance to change a life, maybe even save one. The Wyoming Rescue Mission is offering a unique opportunity where every dollar you give is matched, doubled, to bring hope to those in desperate need. But time is running out. They must raise $175,000 by May 31st for our neighbors who need it most. Please go to wyomission.org/donate. Help bring comfort, dignity, and a second chance. That's wyomission.org/donate.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Former Vice President Dick Cheney, who grew up in Casper, will be laid to rest Thursday at the National Cathedral in Washington. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that the private funeral will draw many, including one Wyoming politician.
We do know that one of the notable politicians who will be there from Wyoming is Cale Case. He got to know Dick Cheney while he was in college. He remembers Cheney coming to the University of Wyoming and visiting his fraternity house. He got to know the family some and just said it is a tremendous honor to be invited to this funeral.
Cheney passed away on November 3rd due to complications from pneumonia coupled with cardiac and vascular disease. He was 84 years old. Wildlife experts say a man was foolish and inconsiderate to press within a few yards of a group of juvenile wolves in Yellowstone. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines says that in the video, onlookers say this could end really badly for that guy.
It's a guy in Yellowstone just doing very stereotypical, ignorant tourist stuff and getting way too close to some wolves. At one point, they got curious about what he was or what he was doing and approached him. And so I talked to some people that were actually there, some wolf watchers, some people who know this pack very well. And then I also talked to Doug Smith. When it comes to Yellowstone wolves, he's the top biologist. What it was is the adults of the pack had gone out hunting. So these were like the kids, the juveniles or the teenagers that were left behind. And this guy started approaching and they were like, what the heck is that? So they went to check it out.
Yellowstone National Park authorities advise that visitors should always stay at least 100 yards away from wolves as well as bears. Secretary of State Chuck Gray is claiming Governor Mark Gordon isn't including money to advertise a property tax ballot initiative in his biennial budget. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Governor Gordon says the secretary managed to fulfill his publication requirements before without extra money.
And the governor fired back in his own comment. You didn't have problems with the notifications you were required to do in 2024. You didn't have an extra request at that time. So the governor was like, I'm just kind of letting you lead and going with what you've managed before.
The secretary asked for almost $10.5 million for the upcoming biennium. Gordon is proposing Gray's office receives $200,000 less than expected. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because some people at school have noticed changes going on with you, and we're concerned.
Like what? Who?
Some of your friends, teachers. It sounds like you've lost interest in a lot of things lately. You're hanging with new friends.
So,
individually, maybe those things are no big deal, but taken together, and then the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know, but we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We just want to understand better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we just want to make sure you understand the negative consequences for someone your age, the physical and mental health effects, the poor decision-making, and the confusing legal aspects these days. So what do you say? Can we talk?
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Cowboy State Daily Show Wednesday, and Aaron Turpen's here. Aaron, I'm always happy to see you.
It's always good to see you too.
You are
If I have leaves in my hair, I've been trimming trees.
Oh, have you? Today's a day to do it. Before, we're all packed in under winter.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. We're both letting our freak fly. The hair is out. I've been wearing a hat all day. I'm going to get my hair cut today, is my promise to our viewers who have to put up with this. But listeners don't know. I want to talk about the return of, and I don't know that it ever went away, but in Markheim's story about the blocky trucks and SUVs, whether it's that Ford Bronco, the real Ford Bronco, or a Chevy Silverado, back when trucks were trucks, man, before we gradually started rounding off the corners and then rounding them some more. And then now everything's a flying wedge because we have to put it in the wind tunnel. What the heck? Do you think this nostalgia over retro, over older vehicles, and we'll use the example in the Markheim story, these blocky trucks, did that ever go away, or are we really seeing a resurgence? Certainly the money is there if you own one and want to sell it.
I think it's definitely a resurgence. We've, for a long time, these were just the cheap trucks. Like you could go out and buy one. They were pretty cheap. Most people were buying them because they needed a work a day, or it's a teenager's first vehicle, something like that. And now they're highly collectible. Even one that's beat and doesn't run, and you're still going to see $6,000-8,000 for that rig. That's nuts.
I know. And if you have had the wherewithal, the foresight, or if you're just one of those people that keeps your rig clean, I'm not one of them. But if you have kept it nice, oh man, if you got a lot of original parts, is that important to have original stuff in it?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's important that the bodywork be complete and original. But as far as the underpinnings, especially the drivetrain, that really doesn't matter as much, because most likely it's going to get swapped anyway.
Yeah.
Because older trucks, high mileage, you know. And the great thing is, if you really want one of these, you could probably just source all the parts and build one from scratch, because there are so many aftermarket and even OEM like junkyard finds and on the shelf, never got used parts they're just everywhere. And so it's so easy to find these, especially for the square body Chevys and the equivalent time period Fords. But when you get into nostalgia, it's an interesting cycle because it tends to run in 30 to 40 year cycles. So like we're in the age group now where we're the age group that is most likely to start buying like a collectible vehicle or something like that. So, you know, we want the whatever in the garage or to take to the car show. We're the most likely demographic to do that, somewhere between the 45 to retirement age. And that's because we're generally at this point empty nesters. We've got extra income now, whatever, and we start thinking about those things. And what we think about is what was cool when we were teenagers, and that's usually 30 to 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's the age group that's going through a midlife crisis, and you're either getting like some fancy sports car or something that harkens back to your day. And you know, unfortunately, you're not the only one with that idea. If we're talking to you, so that car you bought for $800, that Chevy Silverado, it's not 800 anymore. It's 5-figure stuff now because this stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's in vogue again. It is cool again.
And this one's an interesting one because normally it's just that age bracket that is the driving market force. But in this case, it's also very young buyers, teenagers and young adults. Primarily, I think because it's a cultural thing. So these trucks have become a cultural symbol in a way, and they're seen in country music videos and all kinds of stuff. And so now young kids who may or may not have ever seen one before in their life suddenly want one. My 14-year-old thinks they're the greatest thing ever. So
yeah. Maybe media, TV, movies, commercials, music videos, maybe it's made them popular and attractive again. Maybe it's just the fact that that's even at their high price of a 40-year-old truck, it's more approachable than a brand new $100,000 Dodge Ram. Like these kids aren't getting into those, man.
Yeah, that's also for sure. You know, for the same price, you could buy one of like a square body or one that's more or less restored. It's at least drivable in terms of restoration. You could buy one of those for about the same price you buy a brand new small truck. So, you know, like a Colorado or a Ranger or Maverick, something like that. They're about price equivalent in terms of the mostly fully restored 70s and 80s trucks versus brand new small trucks. So that tells you kind of where it's at, because to get into a full-size truck, you're going to spend more than $50,000. It's probably going to be more like 70.
Okay, let's talk some details, Aaron. We're talking with Aaron Turpen, Cowboy State Daily. I'll claim you. You're our automotive specialist. You're our go-to guy when we want to do things automotive. We're talking about the Mark Hines story. 40 years later, Wyoming still loves legendary square body trucks, whether it's a Chevy Silverado, your GMC, your Blazer, your Bronco, those cool square body trucks. You know, some of the things they had back then that you don't see in today's trucks. For instance, I have parked right here on property a truck that I'm salivating over for years. It's a Chevy Silverado, and I got in it the other day. It has the bench seat. Oh, why don't they bring those back? Great for the drive-in when you're 16. And it has a very thin steering wheel, which I kind of like, man. Really thin. Why did the steering wheel get all thick like it is today?
It's more comfortable and also safety. the steering wheel has to accommodate a lot of things now. So if you buy a vehicle, especially here in Wyoming, you're probably going to opt for the heated steering. You're going to have an airbag, obviously. You're going to have some controls on that steering wheel. There's a lot of stuff that's happening on that wheel now. It's also safer because the newer steering wheels just have better grip when you're holding them.
Yeah.
You think about that older wheel you're talking about, it's probably all hard surfaces. It's basically a thin metal band with some plastic around it. That's not terribly safe. If it comes at you, or if something happens, or just holding it for a long time, eventually you're going to have, if you have to make an emergency maneuver, you might slip on that. But I do love that old stuff. I love getting into a car and having to actually pull levers and push buttons and shift something, and that's a visceral thing. It's a joke I've made about the difference between a Land Rover going off-road and a Jeep going off-road. In a Land Rover, you just go off-road and it says, "Oh, I guess we're off-road," and it just does everything for you. Whereas the Jeep, you got to like pull some levers and shove a thing and do something. Those older trucks like that have a lot of that going on. If you go old enough, they'll still have a choke.
Oh yeah, and definitely a crank window, which
Yes.
I kind of don't miss. Kids today will never know the pain of crank window. They say men refuse to ask for directions. It's not true. It's just back in the day, we couldn't get the, if we pulled up next to a dude, the passenger side window, you couldn't roll it down from where you were. You had to lean all the way over and roll it down and say, "Hey, how do you get to Chestnut Street?" Like, it was just inconvenient.
And that's assuming it worked.
Right.
If you're familiar with working trucks, it wasn't too uncommon for grime and stuff to have gotten in there, and that window crank, that window transmission to have just clogged up and it will not move anymore.
Aaron, what's the deal with them? The triangle window, the vent window, those went away when? And what did they ever do? Remember those?
Oh, those were great, because that was the 55-mile-an-hour air conditioner.
Yeah.
So once you're up to speed, you can crack that open to get some
Totally.
airflow. Those mostly went away. Just it started out as a cost saving. It's cheaper to make a one piece and not have the extra parts in the car.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was safety. The safety glass that's on your side windows is a little bit better, a little different than the glass that used to be used, and it's easier to make it in one big piece.
These trucks of the era also have things that I enjoy, and that's real bumpers. Oh my goodness, we've done away with those. Today's trucks, the whole thing's made of plastic. You don't even want to bump a shopping cart at Albertsons. I mean, I love when them old bumpers were real bumpers, and the body was Detroit steel, man. What have we done with today's vehicles? They're all lighter and lighter and lighter.
Well, it makes them more efficient. That's part of the reason. But there is a reason that you'll never go to a crash up derby and see something newer than 1990.
Yeah.
So there is that. A lot of it is weight and cost savings, and then also just manufacture. It's faster and easier to make certain things than it is to make other things. And especially with automated manufacturing lines, which everybody's using. So, but yeah, it's interesting though, because there has been some swing back lately where you're seeing more and more steel and aluminum being used, especially aluminum on modern trucks. And that's just because people still use the truck and it gets dented and dinged and beat, and they don't want to have to replace a panel. They'd rather just, like my little Ford Ranger out there has got a dent in the side, and I just took a rubber hammer and did this and fixed.
There you go. So yeah, let's talk about where, lightening up the trucks, making them less weight, and then the rounding off of the core. We started rounding them. Now, some of it was fashionable. Like, it feels like so late 80s, early 90s, where you started rounding things off. the square body fell out of fashion. There was varying tastes. But a lot of it, I suspect, is wind tunnel research, man. These manufacturers found that if we can cut through the air easier, you can save 1 more mile per gallon. Is that what drove a lot of the move away from the square body?
In the early days, not. In the early days, they didn't care because trucks were exempt from MPG requirements.
Oh, yeah.
But so when you first started to see it, it was probably Dodge that did it first. You started to see those big, fat front ends that were round shaped you started seeing those in the mid 80s, maybe, I think it was. You started to see that as a design choice. Dodge specifically was very clear at the time that they were trying to look like a big rig. So they wanted the maximum sized grill and all of that. They were trying to make that huge, beefy, big look. It eventually did evolve to wind tunnel changes, and that's where you see body lines start to get really consistent so there was a time there in the mid 90s where it was really hard to tell the difference between a Ford and a Chevy because their body style was pretty similar in general, and so you just that was all wind tunnel stuff. So you did finally get to that, and then truck makers started to figure out that the shape of the side mirrors, the height of the box, that's why our box heights are so much higher now. Used to be you could, at a full-size truck, you could walk up to it, reach over. As long as you were somewhere in the 6-foot range, you could reach over and grab pretty much anything in that bed. Now I'm armpitting when I do that, and I'm 6'3". It's the height of the bed makes a big difference in the wind resistance. So they got higher.
Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, you want to pull the shovel out. If it's in the middle of the truck bed, forget about it. You got to climb a ladder and get that thing. Yeah. So
you just do like I do. You get in the truck and you just pull it forward a couple miles an hour and then slam the brakes and slide forward and then
got all the stuff you want to get depending. Yeah, either start real fast or brake fast. Yeah, move the stuff around. Good advice from Aaron Turpen, Cowboy State Daily. I want to talk about, I'm going to drop this probably urban myth on you, and I want you to Snopes it. I'm going to make this comment because this is what I learned from the interwebs. As much as today's manufacturers have catered to a crowd that wants better fuel mileage, better fuel efficiency, because it's not cheap to gas up, that's for sure. I hear the old wives' tale that, that first Model T that rolled off the line, it got like low 20s MPG, let's say, 23 miles a gallon. And today, with all the technology, all the work we've done on these things, we still get 23 miles a gallon. We have not improved the combustion engine in 100 and something years. True, false?
Well, so here's the thing. What was the top speed of that Model T? So
10, 15.
If you're going to do fuel economy tests at 45 miles an hour, then modern trucks are going to beat that Model T. But we don't do that because that's not how people drive. People drive at 25 to 35, that's city mileage, and then they drive at 55 plus. Mostly, most fuel economy testing is actually done at about 60 miles an hour on average. So you're looking at which way, right? And then you come to a place like Wyoming where we have 80 mile an hour freeways, and those EPA tests really don't mean that much because we are way over the top of how fast they're going. So when I do fuel economy tests for highway mileage, I have a loop that I run on the freeway, but I'm the guy in the right lane that's slowing everybody down and going as fast as the big trucks because I'm doing the whole thing at 65 miles an hour.
Yes.
Because
is that kind
I want to get close to those EPA numbers.
Yes, and I've noticed that. Like, that's a real thing. Me, I'm driving for the ETA, not the MPG. I'm trying to get somewhere. Right. I'm doing 80, but if I'm doing, once you get over a certain whatever it is, once I'm burning RPMs like above 2,000, like I am not getting fuel efficiency no matter what.
Yeah, and different engines will have a different sweet spot for
Yeah.
fuel efficiency. Most gasoline engines, it's somewhere between the 1200 and 1500 range. V8's a little bit higher, a V6 right in the middle there, and a 4-cylinder a little bit lower usually. Depends on the engine, of course, and whether or not there's a turbo involved is a big difference. Then the other one is diesel engines. Diesel engines have always had a sweet spot, most of them somewhere around 1500 RPM. So if you're going significantly above or below, you're not going to get peak fuel economy. It's the reason we have transmissions now that are 8, 10 speed, because the more gear ratios you have, the easier it is to hold an engine in that sweet spot.
Yes, and we could do a whole segment on how tall your gears are or how short you're geared and whether that brings you torque and why that guy in front of you using his engine brake going down the mountain is never braking and he's only doing 45 and you're like constantly on your brake. He's found that sweet spot in fourth gear that just allows him to sit there, decelerate. Yeah. Good point. My sweet spot is like 1800 with the diesel on that 1 ton, but that's probably pushing it. That's where I compromise with this. But you do feel it. You feel where your vehicle lags to be or isn't working super hard at that next level, or it's just kind of humming.
One of the things that I miss about driving older vehicles versus modern ones, older vehicles, especially those 50s and 60s models, they have a sweet spot in terms of speed where you hit a point and then it just kind of floats and cruises.
Yeah.
Some of them are somewhere around the 55 mile an hour, somewhere a little more, some a little less. You know, my friend Rob, he has a 65 Dart GT, and driving that, it just has this spot that's around 57 miles an hour where it just feels nice and smooth and sweet.
Yeah.
And modern cars don't have that. They tend to have that all the time because they're engineered to be super comfortable.
Yeah, they have so many gears. If the car's not wanting to strain, it'll just go to the next gear and find the sweet spot there. Yeah, I get that. And we're talking about what I'm thinking the minority of drivers really even feel or experience. It's only us vehicle enthusiasts that they'd even notice that or feel that. One last thing regarding the wind tunnel stuff and all that research, making vehicles more aerodynamic. It does make a difference in a state like Wyoming, where we have all experienced traveling into a headwind and having the wind behind us. What kind of a difference could that make on average with your average vehicle? You know, take a vehicle that's kind of high profile, maybe acts like a sail and catches wind if you're into it and it has the benefit of wind behind it. What kind of difference could you see highway driving?
Well, if you've ever driven a big rig, then you'll know that wind makes a huge difference in how you're driving and what kind of economy you're getting and what kind of a lot of other things, safety and a bunch of stuff. If you get into a high profile vehicle, like say a Nissan NV200, so the big vans that you see that are popular with big families and things like that, the wind greatly affects what kind of economy they get. But even if you go down to a very small vehicle, I have a little Mazda 3 in the driveway right now. That little vehicle is still going to see half a mile a gallon or more in difference because of wind. What we have here in Wyoming is unique. We have this crosswind that happens because most people, when they're traveling in Wyoming, they tend to be going east and west, right? And the winds are always Canadian exports coming down and blowing through.
Yeah.
So, you know, between those donuts and moose meat, that's about all we get out of Canada. And you have this. So we're getting it this way, which wind tunnels do not account for very much. But
that
does
does
make a difference
affect
just
you,
at highway
right?
speed.
Yeah, like the sideways wind also affects you. Like I can feel it hitting me, and I feel like even if it's not directly against me, the side wind also is robbing me of MPGs. I can feel it.
Yes, probably to the same extent that a headwind would be, just because it's pushing your vehicle off balance slightly, so it's rocking it a little bit, and then also just you're having to overcome that resistance because you're having to turn into it to drive.
If you're in one of those vehicles that's multi-geared, I have the wife's 4Runner, and when I'm driving into a wind, boy, that thing is wanting to downshift all the time. I can feel it. I can hear it constantly downshifting to fight the wind.
That's a product of the vehicle. That class of vehicle, up until the very current 4Runner, they're running on pretty low gearing. They've only got 4 or 5 gears. I think six was what they had in the previous generation, and they're slightly underpowered. Jeep has the same thing. It's a thing for that particular kind of category of vehicle, because you're looking more for torque than you are for horsepower, and horsepower is what matters for fuel economy. Torque matters for power delivery. So you really want they're really aiming for having torque because it's an off-road vehicle. Even if it's a 4Runner Limited, which I really don't understand why people buy those, but
yeah, that's a good point. But I will say, boy, they run really good in southern Utah in the desert when you're taking them over rougher terrain. I've had the wife's 4Runner pull my big 1-ton Ford out of a mess that I was stuck in, because the thing has a lot of low end grunt, but yeah, it's not made to do 75 on the highway. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I had a neighbor in Pine Bluffs here when I was driving a rig that I got stuck in the snow. I didn't have a trailer on. I was bobtailing, and I got stuck in the snow trying to get over to my trailer, and they came over with their it was like a early 90s Bronco, and just hooked up to it and gave me a bunch of yanks until I got out of that little snowbank I was on.
Yeah.
And, to think about the kind of stuff that you can do with those, I've watched old Land Rover pull a modern pickup truck out of the slush and grime that got stuck. And that old thing, those mid 80s Land Rovers, they only made like 85, 87 horsepower, something like that. But they were goats. They had nothing but torque.
Yeah.
And so, when you have a vehicle that's at like in the 80s or so for horsepower, but you look at the torque value and it's almost 200, you got a lot of power.
And all of us have seen a Volkswagen Beetle, an old punch-a-bug, pull a Tesla Cybertruck out of a tough spot. That's my favorite videos. Oh, man. Well, we got to have you back soon to do our annual winterize your vehicle, get ready for winter driving, that kind of thing. Yeah, we'll do that. It's always fascinating to talk to you, Aaron, because everybody, I think, when I talk sports, some people may tune out. They're like, I don't like football. We all drive in Wyoming. We all have to drive if you're of an age. So, yeah. Hey, have a great Wednesday.
Great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. That's Aaron Turpen. Back to tree trimming. And we're going to take a quick break here on the Cowboy State Daily Show.
Welcome to The Jake Show on Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's daily dose of raw, unfiltered, and occasionally uncomfortable truth.
I don't do talking points. I do reality.
No spin, no fluff, just Jake. Local issues, national nonsense, and zero BS. It's truth, sarcasm, and grit, shaken, not stirred.
I just call it like I see it, and I see a lot of Let's just say I see a lot.
From the capital to the county fair, if it matters to Wyoming, Jake's got something to say, and he's not asking permission.
The West was built by people who weren't afraid to speak up. I'm just keeping the tradition alive.
The Jake Show, weekdays on CowboyStateDaily.com and wherever you get your dose of reality.
Not for the easily rattled, perfect for everyone else.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming. With a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven, Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path.
So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
All right, look at you taking the stairs. Who are you?
We're your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early when it's more curable. Good to know. Well, I gotta go somewhere.
So do we.
Listen to your lungs. Get a routine screening that could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Reading a headline in Los Angeles Times. The headline says, "Could Trump destroy the Epstein files?" Oh, man. Talk about clickbait. How many people you think are mashing on that story right now in the Los Angeles area? President Trump expected to sign that bill. That is the story of the day that we've talked about. Cowboy State Daily Sean Berry's story, as we knew, as the press closed last night, we knew the House had passed the bill that would open the Epstein files. A resounding 427-1 vote, just the one outlier. Representative Harriet Hageman among the majority, to say, yeah, let's see what's in them Epstein files. Let's see who's named. And then I went to the Senate last night, and the Senate slam dunked it. And it's now on President Trump's desk. Presumably, he will sign it, and we will finally know what's in the Epstein files. The Los Angeles Times reporting this story. Could Trump destroy the Epstein files? I don't know if they ever answer that question in the story. It's all just for the clicks. But I guess before he signs and opens the files, he could certainly have his people comb through them and redact. Would they put him through the shredder? Maybe. I wanted to hit a couple of stories before we take our final break. This one about the dude with the drone that can find lost animals, I think is interesting, because my takeaway from Alex McGalligan, who is by day a professional mover in the Idaho Falls area. By night, he puts on a cape, he changes in the phone booth, and he becomes drone man. And he operates a drone with technology aboard that I'm presumably is some kind of heat-seeking, infrared-seeking radar on it. The drone... He's taught the drone to find lost animals. He's already done it successfully. He saved a dog up there in Montana. He found a lost dog. And he's found horses in the Holbeck area. He found a horse that had gone lost off a hunting trip. 2 horses in the mountains north of Moran, Wyoming, have been lost since October 27th. I don't know Alex has been called in for that, but if he were to be, I bet he could find him pretty fast. He's got a company called Keystone Operations, and he finds lost animals where it would take you and I and search and rescue and a whole bunch of more horses and ATVs. It would take us hours, days, weeks to find something lost in the wilderness. Alex McGilligan can find it real fast with his $20,000 thermal imaging drone. Oh, that's how he does it, thermal imaging. And he's learned to be able to detect the differences in what the drone sees with its thermal detection. He's learned the difference between, oh, that's a coyote. I can tell by the size. He's learned to tell the difference between, for instance, a deer and an elk, just by size and the way it moves. Interesting. And between an elk and a horse. If he's out there looking for your lost horse, he's not going to waste his time with elk. Probably going to see a lot of them. McGilligan says you definitely do see a lot of different wildlife. And he's learned to distinguish between deer, elk, horses when the thermal images appear on his screen. The drone's flying at 35 miles an hour, scanning, with what he says is 99% accuracy. And he's found, and my takeaway from this story is how affordable his services are. He charges $150 for the initial response. So, like in the case of the woman who lost the dog and he got the dog back for him, the woman called McGilligan, called his company, Lila Morell. She breeds and shows dogs. And she had an incident recently when a visitor accidentally let their dog out. And Summer, the golden retriever, bolts out the door and is gone in an instant. And she has a 20-acre property surrounded by 1,500 acres of wheat fields. And search as she did, but could not find Summer. He wouldn't come home. She went online and found McGilligan and said he was the closest one. I live in Montana. He's in Idaho. I called him, and I was just so upset, so distraught, said, I can't find my dog. And McGilligan says, I'll be there tonight. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll see you tonight. I'm on my way. He drove the 5 hours from Idaho to Montana. He arrived at midnight, opened up the back of his 4Runner, and takes out the drone. He found the dog in 2 hours. What? It was on the property, by the way, but probably would have never found it. His initial response for doing that is $150. So here's the bill, Lila. $150 for the first hour of flight time, the initial response and first hour of flight time, and $50 for each additional hour. So for $200 and gas, he finds the dog just like that with his drone. I think that's tremendously affordable. Don't you? Think of the things that you could spend $200 on, $150 on. I mean, you're not going to buy a $20,000 thermal seeking drone. You're not going to buy one, I bet. And as Kevin Meyer pointed out yesterday, if he had one, he would certainly crash it in no time. And so would I, and so would you probably, not being good at flying a drone. And there goes your $20,000 drone. You would crash it. Better to hire this guy and have him come with his services, especially if he's good at being able to tell the difference between the things that the drone can see. It's pretty cool. Alex McGilligan, his business called Keystone Operations, finding lost animals with his handy drone. That's pretty cool. Dick Cheney being laid to rest tomorrow, Thursday. That story, Kate Meadows had it for the Cowboy State Daily. Probably the most influential, powerful vice presidents of our era, of the modern era, definitely. Dick Cheney grew up in Casper. He'll be laid to rest Thursday morning at Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Of course, Cheney died earlier this month, November 3rd, complications from pneumonia, coupled with his cardiac troubles, history, and vascular disease. He was 84 years old. The funeral, the services will be private. Very few people have made the guest list. But Liz Cheney is expected to speak. Still have not heard word on whether President Trump will attend. Typically, a sitting president would attend the funeral of a former president or vice president, certainly. But obviously, Trump and Cheney have been at odds. They've had their friction after Dick Cheney threw in on the side of his daughter, Liz. Liz, we all know what happened there. Kind of turncoat and was very critical of Trump. And Dick Cheney, very critical of Trump himself. And President Trump, from what I've seen, is not very quick to forgive. I'd be surprised if he didn't attend, and I'd be surprised if he did. Both scenarios would be surprised. I'd be interested, A, to see if Trump attends the funeral of Dick Cheney tomorrow, and I'll be interested, B, to see if Trump does the traditional turkey pardon. I'm still fascinated with that. And I think President Trump will not. That's my guess. That's my parlay. If I had $5 to put on it, and if you want to match me, because obviously gambling is legal in Wyoming. We've seen that. We talked about that this morning. It's called gaming. And there are so many loopholes and workarounds and gray areas that, yeah, if you and I had a $5 bet on whether Trump is going to pardon a turkey for Thanksgiving, and we did it over the air, live stream, it's probably legal because pretty much gambling is legal. As long as you figure out a way around a little wiggle room. I'm really wondering if he will. Oh, by the way, I was going to tell you yesterday on that Thanksgiving Day theme, 10 stores offering a free turkey. Hey, that's nothing to scoff at with today's grocery prices, as President Trump will say. 10 stores where you can get free Thanksgiving turkey. There is a catch, but we'll let you know what those stores are when we come back. One last break in the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake.
Wyoming is the Cowboy State. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyo Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
Well, they say there's no free lunch, but there are free turkeys. Where to get your bird for free. There's a catch, yes. But still, if you're looking for a free Thanksgiving turkey this Thanksgiving, many retailers are offering a free turkey just to get you in the door. For instance, at Albertsons, here's how their free turkey deal works. Shoppers who spend $150 or more in a single online order, a grocery order for pickup or delivery. That's the catch there. I guess it's not in-store buying. If you do put in your grocery order for pickup or delivery, from from November 13th through today, ends today, 360 stores across 16 states in the Midwest and West at Albertsons. That turkey deal is in effect, and spending $150 at the grocery store is not hard to do these days. Same thing for BJ's Wholesale Club. Spend $150 or more, free turkey. At Food Town, customers got to fork out $400 at their shopping session. Okay, now you're starting to get up there. Now you probably have to order the caviar or something. $400 through November 26th will earn a free 10 to 20 pound turkey. Giant supermarkets also working a bit of a deal, but that's Pennsylvania. They're only in Pennsylvania. HEB, Texas outlet. They're offering free boneless ham and free turkeys as well with restrictions. ShopRite, Hy-Vee, Winco, and several other retailers also doing their version of a free turkey for Thanksgiving with stipulations. But Albertsons, that's the supermarket many of us know here in Wyoming. Get out to Albertsons. That deal ends today. Just spend $150 and you get a free 10 to 20 pound turkey. Did you see Saturday Night Live last Saturday had Glenn Powell on as the featured guest host? Glenn Powell is the guy that's hit kind of sudden fame. He'll say it's not sudden. He'll say he's been working his craft since 2021 at least. But it was the overnight success, mainly of the movie he was in with Sydney Sweeney, Anyone But You, and he's since been in a bunch of movies. Glenn Powell is like the new it male actor right now. And back in 2021, he had a movie that was going to be coming out, and on the strength of that movie, he was scheduled to be on Saturday Night Live. And Glenn Powell was on last Saturday explaining that. He said, I was supposed to be on the show in 2021, so it's finally great to get here 4 years later. Back then, it was COVID hit, and the show was put on hiatus. And he never got to appear until 4 years later. So Glenn Powell's monologue, which was not very good, he's not very funny. He's funny in skits, in certain roles, in a movie. He does have a good sense of humor, but it's a whole different thing if you're going to do stand-up. If you're going to do a monologue on Saturday on SNL, we separate the can from the can'ts. And Glenn Powell was, and it was obvious. So what he used as a gimmick to kind of cover the fact that he really wasn't a jokester, the monologue was kind of falling flat. He did have a cute gimmick. He said back in 2021, I told my UPS driver, I'm going to be on Saturday Night Live this weekend. And his UPS driver's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And probably went bragging around. Glenn Powell said, my poor UPS driver, his name is Mitch. And I'll bet when he didn't see me on SNL that weekend, I'll bet he told all his friends, what a liar that Glenn Powell is. That was his quote. He said, so I didn't end up hosting. And that meant for the last 4 years, this UPS driver, Mitch, has been going around saying Glenn Powell is a liar. And Glenn Powell just couldn't let that rest. And he said, so I got a hold of Mitch, my UPS driver, and I flew him to the show, and he's in the audience now. And the camera pans to Mitch, the UPS driver, who waves. And he said, Mitch, come on up here. And Mitch comes up, and oh my goodness, it's 15 minutes of fame. Mitch, the UPS guy, right there with Glenn Powell. Glenn's like, let's take a selfie to show that we really are here. You can show your friends. You really do know me. And I really did host SNL. It just happened to be 4 years after I said I was going to. It was kind of a cute moment. And Mitch will never forget it. I'll tell you that. Teton County Fair, last time we talked to you, they were reconsidering whether they're going to have pig wrestling there, because only in Teton County, we worry that the poor squealing bovine are getting hurt, getting shoved into a barrel. Originally, it was rubber stamped. The pig wrestling had went away during COVID. And then after COVID restrictions eased a little bit, the contract provider of the pigs retired. It was a man and wife. It was a couple that provided the pigs for wrestling. They went out of the business, and Teton County Fair couldn't find anybody else who did it until recently. These folks out of Idaho Falls are offering pigs for wrestling. And the Teton County Fair Board thought, well, that's pretty cool. The Fair Board, which I used to be a member of in Teton County, has been effectively neutered in their decision making. The fair used to be able to make decisions like, yeah, we're going to bring pig wrestling back. It's going to cost $5,500. Here's the contract. Good. Approved. They can't do that anymore. The Fair Board now has to go through their bosses, their parents, known as the Teton County Board of Commissioners. The commission listened to the request for a contract to bring back pig wrestling and approved it. And then immediately, oh my goodness, the backlash, the newspaper, their letters to the editor, every animal activist said it's hurtful to the pigs. That's terrible. And the commissioners actually had to go back and revote. They what do you call it when you officially they took back their vote, and which caused another letter. The editors, the editorial in the Jackson Hole News and Guide today, in today's issue, laments the fact that both the council and the commission, both the town and the county, Jackson and Teton County, their boards often revisit things and have revotes. They often go back and change what they originally voted on. And the editorial said, man, just make a decision and stick with it. So after the backlash of approving pig wrestling, it was then removed, and they decided again on it the other night, and they've come up with a concession. Pig wrestling at the Teton County Fair gets the green light with the stipulation that no adult men wrestle pigs. It's only going to be kids and girls, presumably because that won't hurt the pigs as much. So file that under only in Teton County. Only the little girls can wrestle piglets at the Teton County Fair, but it is back. We're out of time. That's going to do it for us on a Wednesday. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.
Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.